And a welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Upsurge Premier League week number 2. My name is Orbital. I am joined here by Leica Switch, or better known as Jordan Estrada, or whichever one you do know. How are you doing today, sir?
Pretty good, my guy, and man, I am ready to see this game right now. Pick and ban's already underway.
Yes, we are underway, but we do have Sentinels and F3VP. Both of these teams 1-0 after week number 1, looking to contend for that number 1 spot. Obviously, it is only week number 2, but you know, getting first place in your group is always a good feeling. Already quick fire bans coming out though. We do have Syndra, Akali, and Misfortune banned away by Sentinels, and Darius, Silas, and Morgana banned away by F3VP, and an immediate Aurelia pickup here by Sentinels.
Yeah, and gotta admit, I'm a little bit surprised to see that Akali. She did get touched a bit, and now her energy refund is not so good. But like you said, first pick Aurelia. This is a flex pick, of course. Aurelia, for the side of Sentinels, I believe can definitely be flexed into both the top and the mid. The top laner is very proficient, so we'll have to see what lane that goes into. But aha! So F3VP support is actually a Blitzcrank main. Like, he has some nutty amount of games on it. So going for the kill lane, I actually really like it. And also, if you were ever worried about the zone attack, Blitz does have a good way to deal with that.
And that is also why they were banning out the Morgana, it looks like, just due to the fact that the Black Shield is one of the worst counters to Blitzcrank itself, or one of the best depending on how you're looking at it. Aatrox is hovered and locked in, and the counter lock of Nautilus, so a possible Nautilus coming out. Another champion that has fluctuated very well in the recent days, and also hasn't been touched in nerfs in 9.11.
That's right, yeah, it's still in a relatively good spot, but I think now people have settled down onto having it as a support pick and utilizing it more for that engage rather than that mid Nautilus that we saw a couple of patches ago. But the Aatrox blinds, I love it. Aatrox is in a super strong place right now, and wow. All right, that's just swapped over to Braum, which is a more solid support, you could say.
And the Ryze automatically locked in for 5 fire. He is already known for being an amazing Ryze player. Very strong there. And on the flip side, we're still actually waiting for the not the mid lane, the ADC picks as well, but
That's right.
looks like Nunu and Willump being hovered here.
Yeah, and I agree. You do want to secure that jungle if you are F3VP right now, so it doesn't get towards the second ban phase, and he might not get your preferred jungler. But Nunu, he's one trick. Well, not one trick, but that's his most play. He's very comfortable on Nunu, and I love the amount of early pressure, objective control that Nunu gives you. He's just so solid, and he gets your team off to a nice early game.
Looking at the bans, we are looking for an ADC from both sides, as well as a possible mid lane pickup, and mid and ADC from the side of F3VP. And on the side of Sentinels, we are still looking for a jungle and ADC for Sentinels, so that's going to be very interesting. The Kindred banned away from the Sentinel side. Japanese import not going to be getting that this time.
Yeah, I would say Kindred, one of those snowballing junglers that you really don't want to give into the hands of Sentinels. I mean, they did just come off of a win, and overall, if you do manage to win out the early game as Kindred, you just do so much damage. Get the range as well, so taking that off. This LeBlanc ban makes a lot of sense to me. I mean, now that you've secured the Ryze and the Aurelia, you can go ahead and start pinching that mid lane pool so that hopefully you can get the Ryze out to a good lane.
Yeah, and that's, this is also what happens whenever you have a staggered ban phase. The Kindred, as well as a possible Sejuani ban, so really hammering in on Japanese import, making sure he doesn't get this champion that he's probably very proficient with, and making sure he's not allowed to apply pressure in lanes.
Yep, some notable mid lane picks still left open for the mid laner of F3VP would be the Syndra as well as the Talon. We could see it come out. We could see it. Not so sure, though. That is more of a solo queue pick where you could just run around wreaking havoc on those side lanes. But that last ban going to come out very soon. And it's actually the Jace.
Yeah, Jace being banned away. And again, we are still looking for a possible flex here. Again, we have seen Ryze in the top lane before, although it is more notable, I think, nowadays in that mid lane with the Aurelia actually going top. So you're looking for a champion that can possibly be flexed in the mid and top lane role. Nico being hovered here would be an interesting pickup.
Yeah, and that we would have to assume that that would go into the mid lane. I mean, I haven't seen AD carry Nico in quite a while, so possibly leaving that F3VP AD carry for the last pick. And on the other
Ooh.
side, hover of the Olaf. Like we saw, this jungle pool was pinched. It's going to be the Olaf. And already you can see a decent amount of dive coming in. You have the Aurelia and the Olaf, as well as a potential Braum ultimate with the Glacial Fissure to engage that team fight. Or you have the Realm Warp as well to pull off some wicked flanks. So just waiting to see what that last Sentinels pickup is going to be for their AD carry. I could see a Kaisa being run here. Okay,
Or
Sivir.
a
This is
Sivir.
good. Yeah.
Another way to run down the enemy team for sure. The On the Hunt is always a massive support style pickup here, as well as with the Spell Shield. Especially in that laning phase, it offers a solid brace against a Blitzcrank, you know? You had the Braum, yes, but you still don't want to get pulled. Pick that one up, you're okay. And an Orianna hover, so contrary to what you were thinking, that might be a Nico bot lane.
That is quite interesting, I'll have to say. And it is going to be locked in, so I will say, little caveat, we could see Orianna in the bot lane, but I don't think so. I think it's going to be that Ryze versus Orianna. They both have a decent amount of early game power, but obviously they want to scale into the game. They want to build their first core items and then really start to impact the map. And that's the pick and ban in a nutshell right there. Just some notable things. I think you have a really strong team fight coming out of Sentinels. Like we said, you have tons of mobility with the Olaf Sivir composition. You have the engage or disengage with the Braum, the Ryzel, and of course Aurelia. If she manages to get a flank, I think it's going to be quite devastating to get on top of the Nico or the Orianna.
And so I do want to talk a little bit more about laning phase though, because of the fact that we have such offsetting lanes. You're running basically a double AP carry composition. On the side of F3VP, the Aatrox, yes, he is going to have lots of raw damage, but again, the recent nerfs to him have caused some issues. With the ultimate especially, you know, you can't just go in willy-nilly, you have to wait, possibly get an execute before you get that passive revive once again. Is this going to cause some issues for the side of F3VP, and are Sentinels just going to have an easy time in that laning phase?
Well, I think at the very least, when you're talking about that Aatrox, you know, resurrect ultimate that has been reworked, I think the Blitzcrank in terms of skirmishes does facilitate that. If he manages to hook one, you pop the Aatrox ult, you kill the first man of Sentinels early, you get that guaranteed resurrect, so you can go ahead and go ham into the enemy team. But as a whole in the laning phase, I don't really think you can really be blown out of the water here. I think Orion is pretty stable. Blitzcrank and Nico can turn things on a dime, as well as the Aatrox. I personally really love the state that Aatrox is in right now. I think he allows a lot of skill expression. You can 2v1 if you really are that good, so I'm not too worried about F3VP's team composition in the early game.
All right, and now looking towards the junglers, we do have the Nunu and Willem versus that Olaf. Olaf we haven't seen in, I would say, a decent amount of time. He definitely dropped in terms of the top lane of the top tier junglers, but
yeah.
I mean, he still holds a lot of power there. Is it enough to really counter the Nunu Willem invades and, you know, the counter gank potential?
I would say so. I mean, Olaf, he does stay relatively unhealthy in those early clears, but at the same time, though, he packs a whole lot of punch. Nunu and Willem, they don't really have too much burst. They just have a bit of upfront damage, and then you just end up trying to slap the person to death. So I think Olaf is going to be able to win out overall in the 1v1s, right? He gets the undertows back over and over and over again. So I think overall, they're probably not going to be opting for the 1v1s. They're just going to be trying to power farm as much as possible. Nunu and Willem might just go for a sneaky dragon, but other than that, relatively calm in terms of the jungle 1v1s.
And now on to that mid to late game, because both these teams do have very solid strategies, and obviously we don't want to see Olaf Ragnaroking into the Ryze ultimate, because I do believe that is a clash of ultimates there. But again, these mid to late game win conditions, what are they for both of these teams? Because it seems to be very different.
Yeah, I would say so. If you are Sentinels, I mean, hopefully you can go ahead and make a situation off of an objective. Like I said, get a good flank. If you have the Olaf or the Aurelia going into the backline of the enemy team, I think it's insanely hard to deal with. Like Nico and Orianna, their only peel is actually their CC. So if you have a Ragnaroking Olaf or an Aurelia that got into your backline, it's going to be curtains for the backline of F3VP. They don't have any hard disengages. So if anything, hopefully F3VP, they do have a bit of a better better mid game. So hopefully they can get out of the gates running, get a good start to control the game, and try and press their advantages, end the game before 30 minutes. I think They have great sieging as well. You think about Nico, Oriana, Blitzcrank, that's really tough to deal with, as well as the Nunu Willump frontlining and the Aatrox. When you want to pull the trigger, go for a full team fight. You have the Aatrox to facilitate that team fight as well. I think as long as they maintain their control early, go ahead and snowball that, control all the early objectives, I think they're going to have a great time in this game.
All right, well, we will have to see if your prediction comes to fruition, but we will be going to a short break here to be able to get into game, you know, give you the action that you so deserve with these two teams that are sitting at 1-0. But before we do, I do want to talk about one of our great sponsors, Kono. If you are looking to take your game to the next level, if it all starts with your peripherals, from keyboards to keycaps, mice, and more, our friends at Kono have got you covered. Kono works with the world's best designers, inventors, and makers to bring you some of the best gaming peripherals around. Kono have been huge supporters of us here at Upsurge and have made generous contributions to our prize pools. If you need to find a new keyboard and mouse or more for your setup, we can't recommend anyone better than Kono. For more information, head over to kono.store to check out all they have to offer. That's KONO.store. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with game number 1 between F3VP and Sentinels. welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We are on the rift for game number 1 between Sentinels and F3VP. On the blue side, we do have Sentinels. It is Brown Mandarius in the top side on Aurelia, Japanese import on the Olaf, 5Fire in that mid lane, and Keishuna and Zyko on that bot side.
Yeah, and on the red side, we do have the side of F3VP. Sorry. Yeah, F3VP with Aatrox holding down with 3-in-1 Warrior, FA Hunter on that Nunu, Young Mid on the Orianna, Dog2 and Scrandor holding down that bot lane with the Nico and the Blitzcrank. And I thought it was going to be an invade, but not quite.
Yeah, it's a very common. It actually seems we watch a few teams throughout the last 2 weeks. You know, when you play early, it's very much okay. First game, test the waters. If they don't invade, we'll invade next game, kind of thing. It depends on, you know, how different the game goes. But again, as you stated, very quiet to start things off here.
Yeah, and a little tricky Nico play using disguise of the Orianna. But obviously, we know going to be the Nico in the bot lane. What is not so obvious, in my opinion, is what's that build going to be for the Nico? You were mentioning the AP. It is now much more preferred, but I'm still holding out for that on-hit Nico. I really do like playing it.
Well, it definitely is on hit. As you see, she is running press the attack. So it is going to be that 3-stack, definitely going the AD build. The problem with that is it does come online much later in the game than it would for, say, Keishuna on that Sivir.
Yeah, we did see a couple of adjustments to Runan's Rageblade as well, so might not be as good as it was before. However, it does give you that early penetration that used to be scaling, so we'll see if that will come into play a little later on down the line. But I mean, overall, you just want the side of Keishuna and Zyko be holding down the fort, right? Yeah, no spell shield available yet, but once that comes online, you could expect the Sivir to be face tanking for the Braum there.
And we already see both junglers going for that full clear. This is something that the Rift Scuttle change has definitely helped manage. We see a lot more full clears, you know, not as much hard going straight for the Scuttles. Instead, we see most junglers clear out almost their entire camp and then go straight for it. But this does mean that since Japanese import and FA Hunter are both on that bottom side, they will be fighting over that Dragon Scuttle.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, Nunu, you do sort of favor him with the consume to be able to secure that easily. But I mean, like we said, Olaf, the better 1v1 potential. Nunu, very punctual and ready already to secure that first scuttle, getting some early vision as well, going to ward up those Raptors. And that mid lane seems to be even in terms of the wave, a little bit going in favor of 5Fire on the rise. He's now starting to rotate down, so going to exert a little bit of pressure. I don't think they're going to come in for the collapse, so Olaf just going to be heading over to the spot lane. Here we go.
Yeah, first gank out of the game here. Nice throw out, but that is going to be just Japanese import walking in. The snowball's not going to be able to do anything. Nunu a little bit late to the party. But again, very quiet overall and good speed up. But on the top side, good damage coming down on Brown Mandarius. So taken down to about half health, going to chug those corrupting potions, stay alive.
I'm telling you, man, Aatrox right now, he feels real good. Like, he's just so fun to play right now. I mean, the healing that you get on auto attacks, once you go late game, there's the hook.
Ooh, that's a good hook. Past the minion, Zyko taken somewhat low, but the unbreakable wall has been up. So he's going to walk away. Did take quite a bit of damage, going to chug one of his potions as well. But Grandor already putting down the pressure.
Yeah, I would say so, going in favor of F3VP, and a couple more of those, and you might just end up winning a lane, blowing a summoner, perhaps.
That is true. Oh no! So Spell Shield already got busted, and that's going to be a heal coming out, as well as a flash out of Keishuna. They timed that so well, and F3VP get a massive lead in summoner spells on that bottom side.
Yeah, just both summoners out of Keishuna there, and that's quite alright if you are F3VP. Oh, skirmishing in that top lane. There's a snowball. Yep,
there it is. And FA Hunter comes all the way around. And that's going to be Brown Mandarius going down for first blood. 3-in-1 Warrior will happily take that one.
Yeah, and 3-in-1 Warrior definitely going to appreciate that first kill. Was already performing quite well in lane, and that's just going to accelerate his damage even further. Hook does not land there, but this lane just does not settle down. Another snowball.
Yeah, there it is again, and we're already seeing FA Hunter really put on the pressure. He does pop his shield as well, but that is not going to be enough. He does save his summoners, though. He did start with the corrupting potions as well, so he's going to feel pretty good about that.
Honestly, we're just seeing a lot more pressure exerted out of FA Hunter here, visiting the bot lane, the mid lane, and the top lane as well. And that's just secured his team already. 1 kill, but affecting all lanes, just coming in for like small trades. That will allow your laners to breathe much better, to have a much more comfortable laning phase, and possibly start to zone out or get ahead in CS. You can already see a bit of a CS lead in the top lane. Here we go.
Yeah, here we go. Young mid in that mid lane getting jumped on. Axe does land. Second one lands as well. 5 fire. Gets shockwaved and under the tower actually flashes away, and that's going to be 2 tower shots. Young mid survives the 2v1. Now in that mid lane again, Japanese import has to flash away as 3-1 warrior teleports in. Young mid with the big outplay takes it down. Such a good play from him.
Yeah, the shockwave, that did pull him a bit closer, but baiting in the rise to go for the dive. He flashes out in a timely fashion, and that means that 2 tower hits over to 5 fire. He goes down, and already 0-2. You get what I thought would be the weaker lane, Orianna, in a nice position at the moment, and obviously that top lane we saw Aatrox get the first kill as well. You can expect that going in favor of 3-1 warrior as well. So a great laning phase so far for the side of F3VP.
And we'll definitely have to see if this affects it later on, because 5 fire definitely went a little bit close for comfort, but now we see Japanese import tossing on that top lane and an immediate ultimate pop. World Ender being called in, 3-1 warrior losing that ability.
Yeah, wanted the movement speed from World Ender and ends up getting out of that fight, but won't have it available, while Aurelia, she could play off of this cooldown disadvantage.
She definitely could. Brown Man did go for the Tiamat buy first, optimizing for wave clear instead of damage. So definitely understanding that she is on the losing end of this top lane trade.
Lying in wait too. But Aatrox healing it back up for the moment. That first dragon is going to be Cloud, so you can see a lot of pressure exerted now for the side of Sentinels bot lane. Just getting a bit of vision on that blue buff.
And the dragon isn't that big of a concern with the air drake, although I personally prefer it quite a bit, having that extra move speed, 3% in combat, 9% out of combat. It's very nice to have, especially for a high rotation, but we see a jump in on the top lane jump here. Japanese import comes in with the axe, forcing the flash out of 3-1 warrior, definitely punishing his early World Ender usage.
That's right, and playing safe too. He knows he doesn't have the World Ender available, so that's going to be a lot of plates, I would say, going in favor of Sentinels, but the response is going to be the Cloud Drake. That is what you have to be aware of when you make plays in the top side. You could be leaving that bot side wide open. That's going to be the trade of Cloud Drake for a couple tower plates, strictly going over to Aurelia. Actually, none of the gold going for Olaf, but that's going to be 1.5. Might just hit 2.
Only saw 1 so far, but that does mean that Olaf is going to lose a partial side of his bottom side jungle. They might meet in that jungle side, but it looks like it's going to be okay. Actually, they will meet over the red buff here. Axe does land once. Blast Cone is available as well, but this is 6-on-7. Ultimate is channeled. Absolute Zero gonna be used, and that is going to be a shield block. That is gonna be huge. A 1-for-1 so far. Young mid now on the receiving end of a huge collapse coming out of Sentinels. The auto attacks gain, and now Zyko gets a beautiful glacial fissure. In comes the teleport as well as Brown Man Darius joins the fight, picks himself up 1, and Scrandor now diving under the tower. Not gonna get much. That is going to be gifted over to Brown Man Darius for a 2-1-0 lead. A massive mistake coming out of F3VP right there results in a 4-for-1.
Absolutely. Sentinels come out big from that skirmish overall, doing a nice collapse, and it was F3VP just being spread a little bit too thin across the map. You could see they weren't really connected totally. That bot lane a bit delayed. That's what led to Young Mid getting isolated out, getting taken out with those concussive blows, and it all went bad from there. Overall, that was straight up 4 kills, and when we had a 0-3 early game, now it's 4-3. Here comes the mid.
Oh, here we go. 5 fire actually gets knocked up a little bit, but is able to use the move speed from his passive, gets himself to safety, and Japanese import is just there for the support. Oh, and a snowball. Just rolling on in. Says hi.
Yep, someone order pizza, but I mean,
Or a
yeah,
little
not
bit
too
of
much
a,
happening.
or a little bit of a shaved ice, as I like to call it. But
Ah, very true, very true. I don't know if those get delivered. Actually, 7-Eleven delivers, so maybe that was like a Slurpee that you left in the freezer way too
yeah,
long.
just a little. But we do see continuous movements now throughout all the teams. After Firefire had already burned the Realm War to help with the 5-man collapse in that jungle side, it helped them gain a lead, but now they have to be a little bit more proactive. That last fight basically came off of FA Hunter feeling he was a little bit safe due to the passive nature of Sentinels so far.
Yeah, and I mean, you had a slow, gradual early game takeover for the side of F3VP, and then one play, they lose all of it. The gold is just about even for the most part. Slight advantage over to F3VP, but I mean, let's take stock, right? That top lane that we thought Aatrox would be ahead, and now it's Brown Man Darius with a 2-1 lead at the moment.
And we also see a 150 gold bounty. He has also collected the Executioner's Call. So that is going to mean that 3-1 Warrior's damage is going to be a little bit lower. We see the Rift Herald has been started up as well. A little bit tricky here as we see a gank on the top side as well. Snowball went in, but on that bottom side we see a jump in. Glacial Fissure has been used. This is going to be the Pop Blossom landing, and that's a kill over to Dog 2. Meanwhile, on the top side we see Brown Menderes get deleted by the Absolute Zero, but the Boomerang's on the bottom side once again. The fight's still going on, and he's going to collect 1 for 1 on the bottom side, 1 for 0 on the top side so far. Firefire now not in the greatest position here, though. He's in a 3v1 situation. He might go down as well. Tries to flash away, but it's still going to get rooted. That's going to be Young Mid picking up his second of the game, and all of a sudden, gold swings straight back over to F3VP.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, F3VP, they had the initiative, started fights in both the top and the bot. They win out overall, got the quicker rotations out for the jungler. And I mean, you're even losing tower plates off of this. Your bot lane's perfectly fine. When I thought it would start to lose here, you have so much damage coming in from the Nico and this Rift Herald as well. I don't know. Here comes the Olaf.
Olaf walked in with 300 health set. I'm not so sure anymore.
Yeah.
Oh wait, he's actually going for it. This could be huge right now if he gets a smite. Oh, we're not sure who it went to just yet. I do believe that went over to, yes, F3VP, but they might pay for it with their lives. They're on a flash available. Shockwave lands on 2. That was huge. They might use it. Yes, he does. Young Man picks up 1, but that's a 1-for-1 trade so far. And now Brown Man is going to pay with his life. A nice double kill, 4-1 for Young Mid. That has to feel good because they also collected the Rift Herald, exactly what they wanted.
And that's just a little too over-eager coming out Sentinels. They try and punch the Rift Herald, but in the end, they get a 2-for-1 trade, as well as the Rift Herald ended up going in favor of FA Hunter. Nice smite coming out of him when it was a 50-50, so well played overall. And F3VP, they just seem to be playing well across the map when it comes to macro and when it comes to those small skirmishes.
It definitely has, and again, this comes down to the what it feels like proactive versus reactive. We saw the proactive move coming out from them in the early game, although it didn't really work when they got collapsed on 1-4. But this time, we see the proactive move. We saw Japanese import on that Rift Herald, and FA Hunter said, okay, we're just going to hard gank that top side then, really put them under pressure. And they have been doing this constantly. To say whether it's good or bad is really, questionable. But 4-1 in the mid lane for your Orianna, already sitting with the Luden's Echo and the Mercury Treads. And on that top side, 1-0-4 for 3-1 Warrior has to feel good against an Aurelia of all people, although, Aurelia's 3-3-0.
Yeah, I mean, either way, an Aurelia with gold in her pocket is a bit scary, but having that 1-0-4 Aatrox, as well as the 4-1 Orianna, of all people, I actually thought that Firefire slightly played out the early game a bit better. I mean, albeit he is on Rise rather than Orianna, so it has a bit more control of that early game. But, I mean, still, it was Young Mid coming in with the clutch shockwaves at the right time, and it didn't even matter if he rotated later, because in the end, that shockwave had so much of an impact. You can see the Infernal Drake start here, and the response, here's the approach coming out for Sentinels.
Oh, this could be huge, although they have decided to just give it up. A strong play from F3VP, and this is something that a lot of people that utilize the Nunu really like to do. Just constantly get those global objectives, say, okay, this is ours, we're going to consume it, we're going to take it, we're going to smite it, and they keep that pressure up as long as possible. that does lead them into an Air Drake plus an Infernal, so 2 key dragons that you want to have for that later portion of the game.
And overall, you could see the side of Sentinels. They were thinking about the approach, but you factor in, okay, we've been losing these skirmishes, as well as the fact that I had to beat Nunu at a Smite game. I don't know about this one. So even though they were slightly grouped up, they were sort of poised and ready, ended up abandoning that call. And that's what happens when the Nunu is the head, right? He could just take what he pleases, rift-tailed into that top lane. I'll see if there's a reaction coming out, or it looks like they're just going to abandon the top wave tower, and rightfully so, it is quite low.
Yeah, and that's going to be, I believe that's going to be first tower going down. Yeah, they didn't collect any other tower plates, I believe. So, unfortunately, no massive extra gold. But again, first tower for that top side does allow 3-in-1 Warrior to have a much better advantage in terms of forcing out those lanes.
Yeah, absolutely. And 3-in-1 Warrior, now that he can just shove out waves even further than if there was a tier 1 top lane tower, now they can shove out waves and get even more free time. Perhaps he can impact this mid lane a bit more. Put Rise 5 Fire on the back foot and possibly take a bit more across the map.
Yeah, we already see gold leads coming out for multiple distributions of the lanes. On the top side, we see 700 gold difference in favor of 3-in-1 Warrior, and that mid lane is probably the largest disparity. We see close, I believe, to about 2k difference between the two. And only on the bottom side do we see a slight lead over to Sentinels, and I believe that was just about 200 gold. Both hopping over the wall. Japanese import held strong, didn't get jumped off.
Yeah, now rotating over to that mid lane. Not going to find a snowball, but gonna give it hand delivered over. Here you go. Hold this for a while.
Yeah, thank you very much. I'll walk back into the other lane. But again, where do these teams go from here? Because, like I said, we've seen aggressive moves from both these teams, but again, neither have seemed overly proactive. You know, F3VP, very proactive in getting those dragons, the towers, ganking, but again, how do we really see a team break through?
Right. I mean, if you are the side of F3VP, that's actually the easy question there. I mean, you just keep gradually increasing your lead. When it comes to objective control, obviously you have those dragons down pat. You can start playing that vision war as well, securing vision, making sure you take care of all the enemy's pinks. And of course, I would like to see putting a lot of pressure onto 5 Fire, making sure that he always has to call over extra members to keep that mid alive and hopefully chipping away at those last 2 tier 1 towers available overall. But the better question is, how do Sentinels play this out? Honestly, they still do have great flank, great team fight that they can pull off. So if anything, I would actually like to see them bust open this bot lane tower, get their Sivir and Braum to start to hold that mid lane, possibly start to rotate over the map. Here we go, the Realm Warp.
Yeah, 3-man Realm Warp into an immediate root from the side of Nico. That's going to be a nice snowball to stop the flow, but that also gives massive pushing potential over to F3VP. They immediately rotate over. Scrandor is there, but he is going to be locked up just a little bit. But the hook back in, and that's going to land Zyko in the middle of a fight. 5 mans there. Good Glacial Fissure is only going to slow them down as they pick up 1 kill. Tower goes down on that bottom side, but at what cost? Again, a bit of a misstep there coming out of Zyko, but a huge collapse coming out of F3VP.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the story of this game. We're just seeing Sentinel. They're very eager to try and punish the side of F3VP, but they overstep their boundaries just a bit too much, not playing patient enough, and they end up getting Zyko hooked by Scrandor, and that means 1 kill, as well as the mid tower, given over for F3VP.
Yeah, and again, the Realm Warp was a good idea, but it was immediately into that Nico 3-man stun. And you just saw the rest of F3VP say, they're all on bottom side. Just go straight mid. No one cares. And then, just to step up, Zyko said, I'm going to try and help. Immediately got hooked. And when that happened, the rest of the team just collapsed. And such a strong play from F3VP. They are forcing these errors out of Sentinels right now.
Yeah, absolutely. They're making Sentinels try and direct these plays, to orchestrate these plays, rather. You saw the Realm Warp into the bot lane, but whether it was a Realm Warp or just a rotation, overall, you're putting a lot of resources into that bot lane. They leave their mid lane open. That ends up being the tower as well as a kill. But now, this Infernal, I think now, Sentinels, they've had enough. They want to fight for this. They're on top of it first, but here's the approach.
Yeah, Teleport is up for Fire, so he can join whenever he wants, but in goes the collapse. FA Hunter is going big. Shockwave lands on 2. Absolute Zero is channeling as well. Flash out from Japanese import, but again, a pull lands on a Zyko. Zyko feeling the pain right now. Young Mid picks that one up, and then the backside, down goes Fire as well. This has turned out horrendously for Sentinels as down goes Brown Man Darius, and F3VP lose no one. Collect the Infernal Drake, their second of the game. They're already pinging Baron.
Absolutely. I mean, you do get a clean 3-for-0 trade. You have the Nunu tanking for the Baron, so why not just go ahead and start it? Force the side of Sentinels to contest it if they even want to. It looks like they're not going to, so that'll just be the Baron given over to the side of F3VP. And off of a great team fight, too. I will say, though, that is a very bold move by Sentinels. They start up the Baron, and also they started up knowing that they have to play around TP as well. You can see that TP deep around the side of F3VP's blue buff, actually. And it was just such a scattered fight. They just could not get priority overall on the Drake. They got run over in the end, and that TP did not work out for them.
Yeah, and now Fire as well, feeling a little bit of the pain here. Actually gets jumped on pretty hard. Fire getting caught, walks out of the pull back, but after 3-in-1 Warrior does go down. The rest of the team is there to collapse. On the hunt gets the rest of Sentinels there. But that's only 1 for 0. They put a lot of resources into that top side to get that kill. Now they have to hold off against 4 other Baron up players.
You'll take what you can get if you're on the side of Sentinels. I mean, getting rid of 3-in-1 Warrior on the Aatrox, that split push threat when Baron buff is on the table, that's going to be nice to have. And you can already see Fire pushing up that top lane, but that bot lane tier 1 is going to be going down quite soon to the side of Young Mid. They're going to transition that possibly into that bot tower. No, it looks like they're going to reset. So actually a 1-for-1 trade in terms of towers.
Yeah, they do have it now, and we get to see if they will have any sort of impact, really, because the Baron was taken, yes, but it was taken quite early. I believe it was covered at about 21 minutes. Meaning that they have about 3.5–4 minutes afterwards, so we're closing in on the 1.5-minute mark for them. And they so far need to select a lane, I feel, and really just hard push as 4 or 5 members with it.
Yeah, absolutely. We talked about it in the pick and ban phase, but they do actually have relatively good siege. The problem is you're dealing with Sivir of all people. Sivir and Ryze, they do have decently good wave clear. Ryze decent, but Sivir very good. Here comes a realm warp. Whoa, that's only one Olaf.
Yeah, and Olaf actually went straight in, got ulted as well. That was an immediate shockwave into the damages, and so he just collects that. Mid lane tower also falls into the 3-man. Hook goes a little bit wide, but Japanese import was, that was a troll move by Fire, I feel.
He got pranked. Did you see that?
Oh, that was mean.
That's just go next, but also I'm gonna sacrifice my jungler.
Yeah, again, that does lead to 2 towers down, though, as well as a kill. Now almost all the outer towers have been taken. Baron buff still up for, I believe, another minute. Snowball goes a little bit wide, but they are gonna break the base here in that mid lane. So far, the auto attacks flying out thick and heavy. That's going to be another hook on the Psycho. He has been a hook magnet. He goes straight down. Young Mid picks up his 7th of the game. Pop Blossom lands on no one. Beautiful zoning, though, with the Absolute Zero as well. But look at those auto attacks. Dog 2 picks up Brown Man Darius. And that's another hook from a flash. That's going to be a 3-0 so far. Japanese import next. Eats the Shockwave one more time to secure Young Mid's 9th. And that looks like game-ending plays there as mid lane has been knocked down. Nexus towers are going to go down next. And that is going to be game number 1 in F3VP's pocket.
And it's so well played from them as well. I mean, starting off in the early game, they were winning those laning phases due to, in part, from FA Hunter on the Nunu. Just influenced every single lane, had a much bigger impact than Japanese import. You could see why. He's an experienced Nunu player. He knows how active you can be, how much you can take control of that early game. Transitioned it into those early objectives, and overall, F3VP, they were ready with the proactive plays. They had it all mapped out. When you saw a lot of pressure being exerted onto the top lane, for the side of Sentinels, it was a quick dragon take for FA Hunter. It was like that the entire game, and overall, their proactivity, it leads to their victory.
Yeah, it really does. And we already are looking at the damage charts here, but I mean, Rise in that mid lane, Firefire was actually outputting quite a bit of damage. It's just they weren't able to secure the kills. The team play coming out from the side of F3VP, it's shown through very well. And so far, I am loving what I'm seeing from the side of F3VP. The jungle pressure has been immense, but at the same time, that mid lane pressure has been extraordinary.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, yeah, props to Fire. Did actually play his butt off, like I said, was always rotating first. Actually, earlier than Young Mid, as well as putting out a lot of damage in those team fights, did the most damage in the game, but could not quite clutch it out. I think if you are the side of F3VP, that might just be the only pick that you want to make sure does not go into the hands of Fire, because he looked very comfortable on it. And I think if you want to take the 2-0, make sure that's out of the way. But admittedly, this was such a hard game to play if you were the side of Sentinels. Once you really got onto the back foot, it's so hard to play out these team fights. You have two medium-ranged champions in the form of Rise and Sivir. Irelia, she can't go in unless she knows that, you know, it's going to be a full-blown 5-on-5 team fight. And Zico, he was trying to do his best to frontline, but when you get pulled in by a Blitzcrank, you're basically dead at that point. When you're that far behind in gold, there was just too much damage coming out of the side of F3VP, and they play it to a T.
Yes, they do. So now we are looking towards game number 2 to see if Sentinels can bring it back into a possible game 3, or if F3VP will take it in a 2-0 series. We'll be right back with game number 2. Don't touch that browser. And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, as we get underway for game number 2 between Sentinels and F3VP. F3VP took game number 1 in a pretty commanding fashion after a somewhat skirmish-heavy early game. But this time around, we do have F3VP on that blue side, Sentinels on that red side, and already the bans are coming out fast and furious. Silas Darius banned away by F3VP, and Syndra Akali so far on Sentinel side.
Yeah, still respecting that Akali in the hands of F3VP, so no surprise there. But hey, let's talk about that last game for a second, because that was phenomenal play coming out of F3VP. I thought they utilized the Nunu to a T, and I think if you are Sentinels, you really had to come out strong in this pick and ban phase. Make sure you have lanes to work with, because I mean, we saw the Sivir and the Braum in the bot lane. They weren't really designed to win lane. The top lane, it was sort of snowbally. Irelia versus Aatrox, and Aatrox, of course, he manages to get out ahead because he has a much more active jungler. So possibly putting some more priority in the jungle position if you are Sentinels is what I would like to see. Not so much the Olaf, perhaps something higher presence.
Yeah, we actually see an immediate Aatrox pickup once again for F3VP. It did work in that top side, and Sentinels once again, I mean, they're going with that Rise, which honestly saw a decent amount of success, I would say, in that mid lane.
Oh, yeah.
It's just a lot of damage, but again, the rotations weren't what we saw, so do you think this is a good thing so far?
I think it's a smart first pick for the side of F3VP, and I also think it's a smart first pick for the side of Sentinels. I know, kind of a cop-out, but I mean, securing that Rise is probably the first thing you want to do. That was the shining light in that last game. It was 5 fire, putting out the damage onto Rise. So make sure you keep that gear in place and try and build the rest of the team composition around that. Perhaps give yourself some better, higher pressure side lanes to work with so that the Rise can take advantage of, you know, this pressure, you know, not being camped, not being able to roam across the map and possibly snowballing the other sides.
Yeah, once again, we see the Nautilus. It was hovered last game. This time it is picked by Sentinels. And the Blitzcrank, once again, I mean, if it's not broke, don't fix it. F3VP have locked in 2 of the 5 of the previous game characters.
Yeah, I mean, already the Blitzcrank worked like a charm, and does sort of help you secure the lane if you have a nice lane partner to go with that. Now,
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, Nunu and the Will as well, a good secure. The only problem is you get the Blitzcrank, but you're not able to secure that lane partner. So perhaps we could see some bans coming out for good partners for Blitzcrank. Obviously, we might see that Nico banned out, as well as another pick, perhaps a Caitlyn, maybe a Jhin, something that works very well with Blitzcrank being able to CC someone for around 2 seconds. As well, okay, Sivir, obviously, you know you're going into that Blitzcrank lane, so very intelligent play.
Yeah, I mean, this was what it was last game as well, picking up that Sivir one more time, but I do expect a little bit heavier focus on that mid lane this time around. The shockwaves coming out of young mid or extremely important. They do ban away the LeBlanc. I believe that was a ban last time as well. I feel like this just might be a mirrored game since last time.
Honestly, not too much is shaking up, and I think to the benefit of F3VP, like you said, securing a lot of what they had last game, actually all of what they had last game, 3 out of 5 picks already secured, the Aatrox, the Blitzcrank, and the Nunu and Willem, and making sure this game plays out like before as well. Like, you don't have a shakeup in that mid or the bot lane. Nautilus, he does give you a bit more priority in lane, but you're not necessarily going to stomp that lane. We'll have to see what that other lane partner is in the bot lane for F3VP, but I don't necessarily expect Sivir and Nautilus to straight out blow that lane out of the water. So I think they really need to shake something up in terms of that jungle pick, possibly in terms of that top lane as well, making sure you have a good counter against Aatrox.
Yeah, and this time around we do see the Orianna banned away. So young mid not going to be able to have that to his advantage. Going to be put on something else. Sentinels do have that counter pick, so they do leave it for that top lane, which I find surprising, but they do pick up the Olaf one more time. So
this is so interesting to see. I have to say, I've never seen this actually, but it's literally the run it back composition. The only thing Sentinels ended up changing is possibly that Braum in shape of the Nautilus pick now for support, but other than that, they say, hey, Com's fine. Obviously, Sivir and Olaf, they are best buddies, helping each other out. And whoa, here we go now. A Draven Blitzcrank lane.
And
we'll have to see.
Yeah. So Draven actually being locked in. Sorry about that real quick, but I mean Draven, it's surprising us here because it is vastly different than to what the Nico was game before.
Uh, but at the same rate, does still want to stomp that lane. And if you got Nunu bouncing around all over the place, that just adds insult to injury, you know? It's pressure on top of pressure. And it's going to be very hard for Sentinels to deal with. We saw last game, they could not deal with all that pressure coming out. They ended up bleeding objectives, bleeding towers as well. And let's see what this last pick is going to be. You have to expect it's going to be a top lane pick.
Yeah, and we actually, surprisingly, we see the Cassiopeia locked in,
Oh,
and it's the Veigar mid lane.
Yeah.
The Veigar mid, that is a throwback of throwbacks. I think we haven't seen Veigar in an extremely long time.
Yeah, and on one hand, I am a little sad to not see Fire on the rise again, but it was a great bait coming out of Sentinels in the pick and ban phase. They say, hey, yeah, we're going to keep the rise. That's definitely going into the mid. Then they flex it to the top, get Veigar. Just such a bully in the laning phase just because of the cage. Like, nothing else. Just the cage on Cassiopeia is so difficult to deal with. I think this is 100% a flash game, a flash cleanse game. Possibly for the side of the Cassiopeia in the form of young mid. But overall, you got an interesting composition if you are Sentinels. On one hand, you do have a lot of that same rundown that you had to work with, but better CC as well. Nautilus, hard engaged, Veigar can work on top of that. So I think this is even more pick-oriented than it was before, and you can manage to pull it off. I thought that was one of the great strengths that Sentinels could play with, you know, in that previous game. That one time when they got there early to that Infernal Drake, I thought if they just played around pick rather than a 1-4 split push with the TP flank coming in, I thought if they just grouped 5, played around pick because they ended up there earlier, they might have been able to snowball a team fight, but we might just see it here. And on the other side, F3VP, I mean, it's the same overall snowball bot. You still got now Cassiopeia in that mid lane rather than the Orianna, but they're going to try and have a big impact, I believe, or rather than the rise, I believe. Yeah, rather than the rise.
Well, it was actually young mid on that Orianna, as you stated, and then yes, the Veigar instead of the rise. But again, we will be seeing the Realm Warp come out a little bit more, but this time teleporting in from the top lane. Now, we did see Aatrox last game, and that was against the Aurelia. Obviously, Aurelia didn't have the greatest of showings in the 1v1 situation. Collected a lot of the kills, based more off of the fact that was able to help collapse on that bottom lane. What is the matchup between Aatrox and Ryze like?
I mean, I would just assume it's just the Rise trying to make it out alive. Aatrox, he has no resources to deal with, so he's going to be throwing out those Qs as much as possible. And Rise, I think if anything, he wants to stack up his steer, stack up his mana flow band, and make sure he comes out of the lane ahead in at least CS, because I don't see him winning those 1v1s too much. Sure, you have the snare to work with, but Aatrox, he's got those dashes, got the Q as well. So overall, I think if anything, you're just holding out, you're waiting for a gank. And the Rise does a great job in assisting that. And if you are the Aatrox, you're trying to shove in the waves, trying to apply as much pressure as possible, and possibly even influence that Rift Herald, maybe come in for a good gank as well onto the mid lane.
We do have the run back between the Nunu and the Olaf. So the big question is now in that bottom side, what's the main difference? Obviously, we see a switch between the Braum and the Nautilus, but again, instead of a Nico, you have the Draven. I mean, to me, that signals a huge shift in power of the Nunu constantly ganking the bottom side this time around for Dog 2 on that Draven to get ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. And the one good thing you have to work with is Sivir has a great time controlling the wave. If she wants to shove, she can shove. If she wants to freeze, she can freeze. And if she wants to stop a big wave from piling onto her bot tower that could facilitate into a dive, she can get rid of that wave and a snap of her fingers. But, I mean, overall, it is sort of the same lane that we saw, right? Blitzcrank, he's trying to hook. This time, though, you don't have the Braum that had the safety of jumping back once he gets hooked. You only have the Nautilus here, so going to expect some better play coming out of Sivir if she wants to make sure both of those come out of that lane alive.
We'll definitely have to see it. Now, of course, F3VP took game number 1. Now, I do want to ask you, after seeing these compositions locked in, who do you think is going to take game number 2 here?
I still think it's F3VP, not because of the pick and ban, but because of their play overall. It looked like when they have a good early game composition in their hands, they know how to dictate the pace. And Sentinels, when they were on the back foot, when they were under pressure, and when they were forced to make moves, they just could not execute them quite correctly. There were just a couple things that were off, and possibly later down in the season, we could see them come out very strong in terms of their early games. But at how I've seen them this game 1, I don't know if they're going to be able to stop this early game massacre from F3VP. So I give it to F3VP.
All right, well, we have that prediction on the board. Of course, you going with F3VP. I mean, I'm probably going to give it over to the side of Sentinels, mostly because we got my favorite character in the game, Veigar, on that side. So if I see Veigar lose, I'm going to be very, very sad. But before we get into game, I do want to talk about one of our other sponsors in Scuttle Scrims. Scuttle Scrims is one of the newest ways that you can help find a reliable and easy scrim partner. They are always looking to have new people join in, and it's very, very simple. You just simply log into Scuttle Scrims, search your specified ranks, and request a scrim from that scrim partner. They are one of the most reliable and easiest applications that you can use to search for active teams of all ranks and skill levels that are also looking for practice partners to up your game level. So for more information, go ahead and visit their website at scuttlescrims.com. We will be right back with game number 2 between Sentinels and F3VP, so don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to game number 2 between Sentinels and F3VP. Game number 2, obviously we saw some heavy-handed play coming out at F3VP, but Sentinels are looking to fire back now that they have the Veigar in the mid lane and the Nautilus in the bottom side.
Yeah, absolutely. I love this Veigar skin, by the way. This is the best Veigar skin. When he does the meteor, but he just presses a little remote, or his recall animation. They're both honestly godlike. But yeah. I mean, hey, I'm pretty hyped to see the Veigar. I know you're a connoisseur of the Veigar. I appreciate.
I used him for the sole fact that his stun was immediate, and you could hide it on certain parts of the map. Where you could actually hide the graphic. It was one of the most broken things, and it made a lot of people upset. But I could only get to gold with him, and then after that, I actually had to work my way up to plat, which is sad to say for about 4 seasons now. But we don't go into that. We are seeing a slight invade here from Strandor. This is something that Blitzcranks always love to do. But I don't know if they're going to try and challenge it. We'll have to see if he can pull it off. Is he going to fire it? Oh, he got a Nautilus. That's not what he wanted. That's not a blue buff. Run away.
And smart face tank from Zico, and that does mean that the blue buff is not going to be snatched away by the body snatchers today. It's going to be the rotation into the bot lane. So overall, that's some peace of mind right there. I wish my solo queue players would do that sometimes. Hey, nice hook.
Oh, nice hook there on Keshuna. You know Keshuna doesn't start the spell shield right away.
Yeah.
So just a very nice chunk of damage down. And although we do see the Doran shield coming out for Keshuna, that's still a solid early little advantage.
Yeah, absolutely. That's going to secure you level 2, and you can just play off of possibly getting another hook. We'll have to see if the bot lane of Sentinels will respect the level 2 advantage. You can already see him on the mini-map moving way the heck back.
Yeah, we really don't want to touch this. Not with the 9-foot pole, please. Please let us fall back, but... Again, they are looking to get that level 2 as quickly as possible, get that spell shield going, and make sure that they're going to be a little bit safer. Good.
Right, like I said, Nautilus a bit more vulnerable if you get hooked rather than the Braum. Does not have a jump away. If anything, he's just going to anchor to whatever wall is closest to him. Pray to God that he stays safe. But you can expect this lane to go much like before. Sivir cannot walk up to a Draven. That's just way too much damage to deal with. And she just needs to stay put, scale into the game, and eventually her crit does kick in.
Yeah. Needs about 3 items, though, to do that. But I do want to talk about the mid lane 5-fire going with that Glacial Augment build. Now, this is a build that I really do enjoy. On the fact that whenever you're playing Veigar is the fact that you have built-in CC. You're one of the best CC monsters in the game. You couple that with the fact that you're going to probably get a Hextech GLP plus Twin Shadows. You will run down anyone you so choose and catch them in the cage. You will either burn a flash or cleanse or get a kill. Those are the only 3 options.
Yeah, and I think it's a fabulous tool to work with when you look at the composition coming out of F3VP. Admittedly, it's... Okay, there's a snowball.
Yeah, 5-fire taking a bit of punishment there, but got the cage down just in time. So he doesn't have to burn the flash, but we'll have to start chucking those potions as quickly as possible.
Yeah, speaking of bushes, see Japanese import here just hanging out, but looks like a recall in the end. That hook, not going to land, so a bit more safety. But like we said, active play coming out of FA Hunter. Feels like deja vu from last game.
Yeah, and that was a big proponent in how they were able to snowball this early game. The constant pressure, the constant fighting, and the constant harass. That was all amazingly well done on his part. And so this time around, he did actually collect both of the Scuttle Crabs. So that's going to be pretty big. And the gold turn is up very slightly. And Japanese import, once again, just relegated to trying to clear out his jungle.
Yeah, and I mean, we talked about the ganks from Nuno. It's not necessarily that he has to get kills, just the fact that he comes in, he chunks out the mid or the top lane, and he's able to give his own laners a bit more breathing room to work with is the real power of Nuno, right? It's not that he's trying to hard carry the game. He's just trying to let his team breathe a little more, secure those neutral objectives, and once you finally get an opening to work off of some map play coming out, you can really take those dragons if you have the chance to. But I would more like to see the adaptation coming out of Japanese import. This is the same matchup that we had last game. However, hopefully we can see Japanese import have a much bigger presence in this early game, because last game we sort of caught sleeping.
Yeah, and again, we're seeing a huge disparity in this top lane as well. The CS differential swinging in favor of 3-1 Warrior. An early Dragon being started up here, but an immediate rotation on the side of F3VP called over the bottom lane. So fairly strong there. Young mid getting some poke and poking back with the Twin Fangs. But the Dragon was slightly stopped, I believe.
Yep, that was. And looks like Nunu's still sticking around, but here comes the gank. No, Japanese import gonna have to back off. Doesn't know that the Dragon started.
Yeah, the Dragon was restarted on that side, and we're actually seeing FA Hunter possibly take that down. That will be a huge win if he's able to collect it. Young mid again throwing out the Twin Fangs, and that is going to be a 6-minute Dragon. Well played by F3VP.
And that's so frustrating if you're a Japanese import. Thought it was fine. That mid gank didn't work out as well because the cage did not close the gap for Olaf. So in the end, just a lot of lost time. And on the other side, FA Hunter, he's back at it again, boys.
And there it is, a solid pickup there. And once again, they do collect a Cloud Dragon as soon as possible. That does mean FA Hunter will be roaming even harder. Aatrox will have that advantage as well. Japanese import on the rampage to try and invade a little bit. Might steal away the Scromp here. Nope, smite it away. 86 gold over to FA Hunter.
Yeah, might be looking for a bit more. Nope, just going to go his separate ways. But, I mean, that Cloud Drake is going to feel nice if you are playing against that Glacial Augment Veigar. The fact that you might be able to walk an extra second away from the spooky ghost might make a huge difference. And overall, keeping it away from the Veigar is enough value in and of itself. You do not want to get trapped in those cages because there's no leaps for the side of Sentinels, or rather F3VP to deal with. So if they get trapped, like, they literally had to blow either Flash or the cleanse from the Cassiopeia.
And not only that, this actually puts them in an interesting dilemma because of the fact that only one person really has the heavy CC in terms of the cage. You do have Zyko with the hook and all, but you do have to think, while there's a huge gank in that mid lane, Snowball comes in, but, you know, walks away.
Just more pizza delivery, Jesus.
Yeah. But you do have to think, is this possibly going to mean that there's a possible tax of the QSS coming out for the side of F3VP, or if they're not going to show enough respect over to the side of the Veigar and the Nautilus and just say, all right, we don't even need the QSSs. We don't care about that. We think that you are going to not be good enough to be able to lock us down.
It's true. We did see some very sketchy plays coming out from the side of Sentinels when they really wanted to pull it off, and I think it's totally contextual. If we do see Sentinels actually get ahead, okay.
Big fight coming out. Brown Darius has to flash away. He's going to be down close to 20 CS now. That is something you don't want to see coming out from a Ryze and Aatrox matchup.
And it's so difficult. You look on paper, Ryze versus Aatrox. Oh, that's like range versus melee. No, good sir. Aatrox is a range champion. You see that range right there? That's actually nuts. As well as being able to sustain quite a bit if he actually does get an auto attack off, it's just so difficult to deal with.
Now, unfortunately, he only collects 1 of 3 of those up in the top side. Brown Darius really feeling the heat here. Now we actually see a move up by Japanese import. I don't know if he was actually spotted. I don't think he was. As we do see him waiting around. He is on a pink ward, so hoping that he is going to be okay.
Here's the thing. I'm not sold. There's not enough damage onto the bot lane of F3VP. We'll have to see.
Uh-oh. Brownman gets pulled right back in. And yeah, again, Japanese import curbed of his possible gank.
I mean, it's so frustrating to see. It was the Olaf run back, right? They knew what they were walking into. It's the same jungle matchup, but you have to get something going if you are a Japanese import. And right now, it's just not working out for you.
Yeah. And we just see heavy farming, right? And honestly, I would say this still benefits Sentinels just a little bit. On the side fact that you have a Veigar, right? You want to let the Veigar scale up. You also want to let the Sivir farm up as well. You want a few more items. But think of it this way as well. The fact that Draven has no kills at 10 minutes, that's great.
Right. Nothing's on fire yet. Nice secure coming out from Japanese import. And that's going to be an FA Hunter actually doing a U-turn back into the jungle.
Yeah. But going back to it, I mean, you do have to count the fact that Dog 2 has not gotten a kill yet. as a win because there's still the potential of shutting down his initial gold extra bounties. That has to feel good.
It definitely does. Like I said, the house isn't on fire yet, but could very well be as that Draven stacks more and more. It's just waiting for one kill to fall into his lap, and then that's an extra 1,000 gold possibly in his pocket. I'll have to see how that goes. I mean, Japanese import, he's not able to make anything happen in the bot lane, so perhaps it is the top lane's turn.
And the painful thing, I think, is the reason he's farming this hard, or trying to, but actually, here we go. 3-1 Warrior is getting jumped on. Might get a kill. Here he does!
No.
The brutal slam with the World Ender. The passive is on, and now Japanese Import is trying to run away. He does have the flash available. Is landing that one. Absolute Zero doesn't kill at all, but they're actually tower diving this. I'm not sure if that's what they want to do, so yeah, they actually walk away. Walks into the stun. No, good. Ulti comes out. Death Charge is running. Cleanse is there as well, but that's not at the right time. Oh, the flash directly in the jump, though. But Psycho was just out of the range. That's going to mean Fire picks it up with the final blast, and they get the kill. A little bit of misplay there by Young Mid, but the flash forward as well secures that kill 1-for-1 across the board.
Oh, Zico, what a godly rotation coming out of him. Lands the depth charge, and that's going to be in a kill going over to Fire. And on the other side of the top, I mean, well played overall by 3-1 Warrior on the Aatrox. Knows he's on a timer. Needs to kill the Rise so that he can get that guaranteed resurrect before he dies to Olaf. There's a nice cage.
Yeah, cage is down. Bot lane is getting a little bit of farm, and they are fighting over this Rift Herald. They want it really badly. FA Hunter might be able to consume Smite this. He's looking for it. He may want it, but the rest of the team is there. No! It is stolen! Fire's on a rampage right now. He said, game number 1, I couldn't carry. Let me carry on this one. Picks that one up, as well as a kill. That is heartbreaking for FA Hunter.
That's some tough stuff to swallow. Just a minor miscalculation. I think it was 92 HP left over from the Smite consume from the side of FA Hunters. Just could not secure it, and that's going to mean after actually Rift Herald in the pocket of Brown Man Darius. We'll see if he utilizes that to take that top tower or just put it in a better location. We have seen Rift Heralds being used to help you secure that dragon, right? You throw it into the top, that demands more members in the top. A bit of a 2v2.
No, nice. But another hook all the way back in. Dredgeline does land. That's going to be Japanese Import running in with the Ragnarok. Actually has to force the flash out of Scrandor. But that is such a good play coming out. Not F3VP, sorry. Sentinels looking like they are more awake this game than game number 1.
Yeah, that coffee, that caffeine, it's finally kicking in, and they're just off to the races now. Finally, trying to pull off as much as they can. Here comes the snowball, but lying in wait.
Oh, there it is again, but now they don't have ultimates. Remember that teleport actually coming out as well, coming out from 3-1 Warrior. This could be devastating for the side of Sentinels. That it is. FA Hunter picks that one up, and Veigar was on his way down, but Fire says, nope, not dealing with that right now. That's going to be Dragon going over as well. Rift Herald has been dropped top, but that is a small consolation prize for what they're going to gain on the side of F3VP.
Right, possibly you can get that first brick gold in the top lane for Brown Man Darius, but overall, it's a 2-for-1 trade, I believe, or a 2-for-0 trade, actually, going in favor of F3VP. Here we go, Fire. Woo!
That's just, that's mean. That's what that is. That was mean.
That's your main right there.
It is, but I mean, like, come on, FA Hunter, he had gotten the dragon. I mean, cut him some slack, but Fire said, no safety for you. Picks up an extra 6, I believe 6 ability power right there for him, so has to feel pretty good about that, and a kill. So he is online, already finished the Hextech GLP, as well as the Sorcerer Boots, so he is going to be running down a few opponents as quickly as possible.
Yeah, honestly, I mean, he's looking fantastic in this game as well. Tried to put on his carry pants for the Rise, but maybe this is the one.
Nope, throws it down, but Young Mid just dances around. The snake is very, very slippery.
That's the thing, you had to give the Cassiopeia a reason to run, you know? Yeah. She still has that cleanse available though, so I mean, she's got 2 summoners to work with. She's got a Nuno jungle as well. It's a really tall order to expect to kill this Cassiopeia in lane, but he's been managing to find the kills in the end. 3-0 and a 400 gold bounty for himself, securing that, what do you call it, Super Soaker gun, as well as possibly going for that spooky ghost coming in online soon.
Yeah, that's pretty much the standard build if you're planning to do Glacial Augment. It's the 2 items that really give the main benefit A third one I have seen utilized, but I don't recommend building on Veigar is Shurelya's. And that actually procs Glacial Augment as well, but you really don't want to get that item because it doesn't give as much as you would hope. So
Whoa. Wait, Shurelya's procs it?
Yep, Shurelya's does. It is any slowing ability. In theory, Randuin's would also proc it as well. So,
wait, Shurelya slows?
Yes, it does. I do believe so. At the end of the tail, it does slow just a little bit, but I don't think you want to. As we see another fight in that mid lane, Firefire doesn't want to throw it out, though, due to the fact that 3-in-1 Warrior was available right there on the hunt as well on the bottom side. That's going to be a solid ultimate burn, though, keeping them safe.
Yeah, and that's Firefire actually just pulling another member of the side of F3VP over to the mid lane. Ends up forcing out the mid from Young Mid. I mean, he's just putting on his best performance at the moment, trying to exert as much pressure as possible. And I honestly thought he would get the solo kill on Young Mid, like landing the Q and the W. All he had to do was press that ult button, but it's so hard to walk up to Cassiopeia. She's got that petrifying gaze, so not going to find a kill yet, but you can bet he's looking for it.
Yeah. So we are looking at it right now. Japanese import running in, trying to clear out that that pink ward, but no, doesn't get it in time. F800 drops another one, denies the extra gold. I do believe
there's nothing more frustrating than that.
It is. Last hit. Feels bad, man. But
like, they lead you on for the first 3 hits, too.
Yeah.
That's the worst part.
Yeah. You know, thinking about it, I do believe I am actually wrong about these Shurelya's. I haven't picked that item up in a very long time, so I think you're right.
What you might mean is Righteous Glory, am I thinking of?
Nah. We'll just leave it with, not Dead Man's. It is Randuin, so that's the only other one. Until I'm corrected later, but we'll see.
No, I swear, there's one other item. Gives you move speed, but also gives you slow at the tail end. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, but we won't decide that because he hasn't built that Twin Shadows coming up, so we will have to wait to see if he is going to go the full AP route. Start going into a possible Void Staff as well, but FA Hunter actually caught out in the baby cage, but dodges out the rest of the abilities, walks into the stun a little bit, but not going to be too bad. So
yeah, as long as Firefire, doesn't have to blow too many summoners, or any summoners, rather. Nice damage from Brown Man.
Yeah, but you have to think that's quite a bit there, and 3-in-1 Warrior is actually getting it. No, Brown Man Darius actually got knocked up, so the Realm Warp was stopped. 3-in-1 Warrior on a slight chase right now. Flashes over the wall, actually, gets the root as well, but the speed up is just enough to get out of the way. Now, Brown Man Darius running as quickly as possible to follow up. Still has enough mana to spare. Good damage coming out. Spell Flux, one more chance, but no! Here comes FA Hunter to close off that gap. Is able to swing around with the snowball. That curve was ridiculous. And that's going to be FA Hunter taking that one down. Brown Man Darius, 0-2-1. Feels bad.
Yeah, F in the chat for Brown Man Darius. Actually tried his hardest to get that kill. In the end, that's a kill.
Oh, he gets out. He might live. No, the poison is enough as well. So it's 1-for-1 right there. Now a possible 2-for-1. Oh, that is a huge absolute zero. Ooh. Japanese import immediately hit the Ragnarok and said, "Peace out."
And wow,
oh my gosh.
1-for-2 trade that does go in favor of F3VP, but just barely, and that's going to warrant the Dragon picked up again. Second Ocean for the side of F3VP. It's still going a bit back and forth, but in the end, we still have the same results. A lot of objective control coming out for F3VP, but still, you gotta worry about Fire on this Veigar. Sorry, I mean, this guy is just really spooky. No pun intended with those spooky ghosts, but this guy is scary.
I mean, you really can't put him out now. It looks like he might actually be going for the Rabadons right away, which will be very, very scary, to say the least. But
yeah, let me check his stacks right now.
Yeah,
191 extra AP in your pocket. Well,
to put that in perspective, that's 10 AP per minute that he's farming. That's not bad at all. That's crazy. That's good, one would say, even. Yeah. Oh man, that is one of the crazier ones, but we are taking a look here towards the latter part of the game. Around this time frame, at about 20 minutes, we had already seen big burn coming out of young mid right now, and Fire putting on the pressure right now.
Yeah, such a nice angle of that cage. Forces out the cleanse as well as that petrifying gaze, and might just force a bit of a setback for the side of young mid. He's been having a tough time. You can see the side of Sentinels exerting some pressure towards that river side. And again, we're just seeing 3-in-1 warrior. He's sort of forced to come and rotate. Didn't even necessarily shove the wave. I would say it's more of like a neutral point, but just has to keep showing up because Fire, he wants it.
He really does, and he's been constantly harassing this mid lane as well. Obviously, the last game on that Rise, he had a fantastic showing, but this time around, he's actually able to collect on the kills up. And gold, here's the issue. He's the only one with the current kills right now. 4, 1, and 0. The rest of his team is all sitting at 0, 1, 0, 2. That doesn't bode well for the later portions of the game.
It doesn't. At the same time, because he's been soaking up so much pressure, you have a relatively calm bot lane that you've been working with. Kashuna, he's been scaling up so far. Nice spooky ghost. The cage comes out as well, but something to be had there. Ooh, steps on some poison. Whoa!
Yep, big flash forward. Young mid says, get out of my lane. You have harassed me enough. Gets himself a blue buff plus a kill. Feels extremely good about that one.
Yeah, might just pushed in the mid now. That's 3 strong in that mid lane, and just Brown Mandarius and Japanese import to rotate now.
And the tower has been pressured. Actually uses a smite to clear out a caster minion. Not what you really want to burn smite on. But the bottom lane does fall. Dog 2 picks that one up with Scrander on his side. Even though he hasn't picked up a kill, he is still leading in the farm, getting 10 CS up.
Yeah, once Fire actually goes down, it just means this whole place is burning. Whoa!
Big tower dive coming out. Ragnarok and Flash was burned. Whirling Blades does land, but great hook. Zico is able to pick that one up. Young mid goes down. Teleport coming out once again from Fire, running straight into the fight, but a little bit over-eager dive coming out of F3VP. Spooky Ghosts are on the run as well. Nunu can't be stopped in there, so he's going to feel okay. They are closing around on the side. 3-man to this top side. He's going to try and recall, but I don't think he's going to get out. Hook does land. That's going to be a root and a kill. Flash away as well. That's hang on. FA Hunter actually, he's running. He might get out. This could be actually bad. No! The axe picks it up. Japanese import says, you guys took too long.
That's right. Just snatches that one up. But in the end, they lose their mid tower. And look at this Baron, actually 23 minutes in. Still 3 members on the map for the side of F3VP. Are they going to react to this?
Oh, they're definitely looking right now. The cage has gone down to try and hold. Oh, but in goes 3-in-1 visuals, and red team does pick it up. They get the Baron, and now they're going to clean up these 3 kills. 3-in-1 warrior sitting in the back line, trying to help it out, but he hasn't gotten a kill yet, and the World Ender breaks off. He does pick one up, able to walk away, but now he's on the receiving end of a Boomerang plus Spooky Ghost. Flash over the wall, and Japanese import again. The axe thrower himself claims another life.
This guy is a sniper with these axes. But overall, what a smart play. Coming out of the side of Sentinels, they get a small advantage, a 2-for-0 trade, and they go ahead, push that onto the Baron. They have the zoning coming out of the cage as well. They end up smiting it out, and in the end, that's Baron in your pocket. You lose 1 member, but you also do put down 3-in-1 warrior in the end. So, well played overall. Now they have this Baron buff to work with as well, but even more than that, I think this just guarantees them a lot of time when they're not losing towers, when they can go ahead, scale up even more. And you really have to worry about some aspects of this team composition. The Rise, the Sivir, they're all starting to get items.
They really are, and you want to know the best part? Rise actually built the item that I was originally talking about, not Shirelia's. It's actually Righteous Glory, which does have the AoE, but that doesn't matter as Ragnarok has to be burned again because Japanese import was pulled off, but Fire just deletes FA Hunter off the map. Teleport comes in, 3-in-1 warrior has to dash right back out after that teleport, and that's going to be a 1-for-0. FA Hunter way too far forward.
Oh man, that hook was so close to landing, and you could see some priority gained in that mid lane, but they're not going to be able to sustain the push. That dragon was burnt down, and would you look at that? The one dragon that's secured for the side of Sentinels, and it's the Infernal, just to add a bit of salt to those wounds on F3VP. Now we can see a siege coming out of the mid lane that's surely going to go down.
Baron is helping them quite a bit as well. Good spell shield. into the stun, and Scrandor has to immediately flash away as well. Depth charge going out.
Nice.
That's going to be another Meteor getting the kill. He is now 7-2-2, feeling so good. And another deletion. The Axe claims that kill as well. Big one going straight into the middle. The snowball is not enough though, as again the baby cage is so real. The CDR is amazing as the Realm Warp is used just to get a little bit of collapse there. Firefire just doing his best, and he does! He collects the last one! A delayed ace coming out, double kill for Firefire. They are going to break the base and possibly take an inhibitor.
Are you kidding me? Sentinels just pull the trigger right there. They go for the extended fight. It snowballs into a whole full-blown 5v5. The rotation from Brown Mandarius as well into this mid lane, and they're looking for the end.
They really are, and having that pick in that mid lane, Veigar, they say we can do this. They get it all, and they claim it. Game number 2, going to Sentinels after they clean up another kill, just padding the stats a little bit. Game number 2 in the books in 26 minutes. Beautiful job by Sentinels.
What a play coming out of Sentinels, from the Baron all the way to the Nexus in one push. They just press the issue. They utilize that Veigar baby cage, like you said. There's no flashes. There's no escapes for the side of F3VP. They get caught going a little bit too far forward. Like we said, the Glacial Augment as well, punishing those missed positions. And in the end, it's Sentinels. A well-warranted victory from them off of some bold play.
And now you have to go back and take a look, because these were very similar compositions to game number 1. Firefire obviously not on the rise this time around on that Veigar, having a little bit more stun potential. But F3VP ran a very similar composition, had the Aatrox in the top side, the Nunu in that jungle side, and Scrander on his signature Blitzcrank. Do you think F3VP need to change anything up, or are they going to try and keep it the same?
Yeah, it's so tough, because we did not see the dominating early game that I thought we would see coming out for F3VP. They didn't necessarily have that snowballing potential that we saw game 1. Sure, there was a lot of presence exerted from the Nunu, but I mean, in the end, didn't take a lot of good dragons. I think like 2 oceans, 1 cloud, not necessarily the best, as well as just botching that Rift Herald play as well. That gave it over to Brown Mandarius. So finally, when something good came in the way of F3VP in terms of that bot lane, I mean, Brown Mandarius was ready with that Rift Herald, put it down, got the first brick gold as well. So that sort of evened that up. And as long as you can have the side of Sentinels outlast this early game from the side of F3VP, they seem to perform fantastically once you get into that mid game. And that's what we were missing game 1. We found a game 2. Coming into game 3, I think you do need to switch a couple of things up. I think you need to keep the Nunu, but get some much more dominant lanes. I think that's the play style that we saw success for F3VP. I think they need to go back to how they found success. Dominate those lanes, transfer that into the neutral objective. Hopefully, you get to get that Rift Herald, get the ball rolling for yourself, and snowball that to victory.
All right, well, we'll have to see for game number 3 coming out here. We will be getting into it shortly as we get the thrilling conclusion to this best of 3 series. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, for game number 3 between Sentinels and F3VP. So far, we've had a dominating game number 1, a little bit closer game number 2, but still a steamrolling by Firefire on that Veigar pick in the mid lane, possibly warranting some concern coming out of F3VP. But hopping right into game number 3, we have the Akali ban and the Sylas pretty much mirrored since game number 1.
Yeah, nothing too different here. And that last game, now you have to respect Sentinels in this pick and ban phase. You have to worry about what Firefire has in his hands, because we've seen him pull up to 3 members in that mid lane when he has a good matchup. The Veigar into the Cassiopeia, he was just bullying young mid the entire time. Sure, he gave over 1 kill, but in the end, the amount of pressure that he soaked up for his team cannot be understated. I think you really have to worry about this guy going into the pick and ban and really try and snowball if you are F3VP. We talked about that's their forte. It seemed to work fantastically for them game 1, and you're in this game 3. It's the deciding one. We'll see what direction it goes.
Yes, very much so. We see pretty much the same standard bans, except this time we will not be seeing an Aatrox coming out for 3-on-1 Warrior. He will have to play something different. And honestly, that Aatrox has been such a pivotal pick.
Yeah, I'm actually surprised to not going that we're not going to see it out, but nice ban coming out from Sentinels. They've been seeing that, okay, this is a problem. This lane is a problem, because it sort of seems like Sentinels have no counter to the Aatrox pick. They flexed the Rise into it, didn't work out there. Obviously game 1 it didn't work out as well for them. They just got snowballed on picking the Aurelia, but now the run back. The Aurelia is back, but no Aatrox to go and dirty up her waters.
Yeah, very true. And this time again, Scrandor, like you said, has been playing this Blitzcrank. He's had some fantastic hooks. And this time, young mid, able to hover that LeBlanc, says you banned it out twice so far. To be fair, F3VP never picked it before in first pick phase. So they are saying we might want to actually pick this up this time, not let young mid get bullied out in the pick ban phase. They do lock it in, so that is a blind pick LeBlanc for that mid lane.
Yeah, this pick speaks to me as, okay, we just want consistency. We want young mid to come out of the gates, no matter what lane he's in, to have a certain amount of damage to him. And LeBlanc does guarantee you that. He doesn't really get bullied out too much by anyone. If anything, she's the bully in that relationship. And now Sejuani and Stiver. So what a pivot, I would say, because we've had the Olaf the last 2 games, but now finally the Sejuani is let loose. I believe it was banned the last 2 games, but it was in the second pick phase, so it doesn't really matter. But
it was, yeah. For sure, go ahead. Sorry.
No, yeah, so they decided to pick it up first, and I like the state that Sejuani is at the moment. She's one of the few tank junglers that is not terrible on this current patch, and does have a good amount of tempo to her. She can facilitate those early ganks, which I think is exactly what Sentinels have been missing, some early snowballing.
That's true, as well as we're seeing a very big shift in the pick ban phase. I like to always look at a series as a storyline. And in the beginning, we saw the jungle pick for Sentinels really fall to the wayside. We saw them not really put any pressure on it. Same with F3VP in terms of the mid lane. This time around, they prioritized that jungle pick as well as F3VP on the mid pick. So we're seeing drastically different bans come out in the second ban phase. Draven banned away by Sentinels and Braum banned away by F3VP. Although both of those characters did lose in their previous games that they were picked, this does show that both teams have respect for their counterparts.
Yeah, here's the thing. I don't actually agree with F3VP's banning at the moment. Okay, the Rise makes a little more sense, but the Braum actually doesn't make sense to me. We saw the Nautilus Sivir work perfectly fine into the Blitzcrank because you have that silver spell shield to rely on it. I don't think taking Braum out is really going to make much of a difference. Would have liked to see a bit more pinching. You can imagine if they banned the Veigar, that would have been at least a bit more peace of mind for F3VP. But at the same time, I don't think they're going to fall into the same trap hole that they did game 2 pick and ban. Obviously now the LeBlanc rather than the Cassiopeia, and here's a hover for you, the Tristan, and that's going to work quite well with the Blitzcrank. You land the pull, you get that explosive charge onto your opponent, and that's a lot of damage. You pair that with the rocket jump, that might just be a kill.
Yeah, and that's also a great way to stuff out a possible engage as well. If you can buffer that rocket jump, it gives you a brand new level of security in terms of dealing with the ganks, dealing with these jump ins, possible Aurelia Vanguard's edges, and now that you have it on the line, a Thresh Hook. Beautiful way to stop that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Thresh Hook, it still pulls you back a little bit, even if you queue up that rocket jump. So there's your answer right there, as well as the fillet. If you're in range, that just totally cancels out the rocket jump, and that can really ruin a Tristan's day, as well as that Malzahar. That's going to be the pick in the hands of Fire. We can expect. I don't typically see Malzahars in that top lane, so going to be top lane Aurelia, mid Malzahar, but still Fire. I mean, he worked it on Veigar, he worked on Orianna. All that's left, or rather, Rise. All that's left is now his Malzahar performance. We'll see if he can come out swinging like game 1, game 2.
And now we see the Renekton as well. So Aatrox Band Away immediately drops down to that Renekton pick. If that's up against Aurelia, he should have a very solid time in terms of trading potential.
Yeah, this is the one pick that I would say makes the most sense for me in the F3VP. Obviously, the Aatrox is out of there. You can't work with it, but still you have Renekton, and does quite a similar job, I would say. Bullies the lane out, make sure you have presence, and that's exactly what has been working for F3VP. You've seen multiple times the top laner cover for young mid in that mid lane, make sure that he can have a good time versus Fire. And I don't think the story is necessarily going to be about the mids this game. I mean, Malzahar versus LeBlanc, they're not necessarily going to be interacting too much with each other. Malzahar with that passive shield and LeBlanc with so much safety to work with as well. I think it's mostly going to be about the pick potential coming out. Malzahar Sejuani sounds terrifying, probably because it is terrifying. That's a lot of CC that you can get onto one target. If you catch out the Nunu, it doesn't really matter how tanky he is.
Yeah, that's so true. And we do see Brown Mandarius again on that Aurelia, so it is going to be Aurelia versus Renekton. And again, we've seen 3-in-1 Warrior pull off these 1v2 situations, 1v1 situations. And if you want to do it with a champion, Renekton is one of the best for it. Again, if you get that one kill, you snowball straight through the early to mid game. Again, late game you wane a little bit, but honestly, he's been so good, and also in his positioning as well. It could be a huge threat if Brown Mandarius doesn't step up, and if Japanese Import doesn't show some successful ganks in that top side as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, now just to talk about this bot lane, I think it can actually go either way. This is one of the few lanes that I think can actually go either way. If you manage to get a lot of good hooks onto the Thresh, you can definitely bully out Tristana and Blitzcrank that have no sustain to themselves. And on the other hand, if you can take advantage of Thresh's early squishiness, you can definitely pick up some good kills for yourself. And that's exactly what Tristana wants, right? When she starts getting towards that mid game, if she doesn't have her critical items, if she doesn't have her attack speed to work with, it becomes very hard to dish out the damage necessary to win those trades. So, I mean, if you can get ahead on the Tristana, that's fantastic. But overall, just looking at the pick and ban, I would actually swap my prediction over to Sentinels now. I think they have I think they finally have found a composition that makes sense, in my opinion. Bold claim, I know, but it's not hard to execute, right? The Malzahar, the Sejuani, you've got the Sivir movement speed to facilitate these engages. So you have an easy team fight, I would say. Easy. Air quotes, by the way. Easy team fight to work with. Like, obviously, these guys are like Challenger and like Grandmaster and stuff, but the team composition, it's easy to work with. I don't think we're going to see a lot of fumbles that we saw game 1 where, like, you had to get the right flank, you had to work with the realm warp and stuff like that. Like, no. This is as easy as it gets. I think Sentinel, they can outlast this early game pressure like they did game 2 and come out to the mid game winning these team fights here in this game number 3.
Alright, well, you have put your chips onto Sentinel to win out on the rest of this series, which honestly I would also agree they have a very fair chance at making it in. But before we go to a quick intermission, I do want to talk about one of our other sponsors, which is Midwest Esports. If you haven't heard about them, Midwest Esports has been around for quite a few years, starting out as a small student group out of Wichita State University. Since then, Midwest Esports has grown to be a veteran organizer of tournaments and events throughout the U.S. They host tournaments for games like League of Legends, Rocket League, as well as Overwatch. For more information, check them out at MidwestEsports.com. So as we go into the intermission, please do not go anywhere. We'll be right back with the conclusion of the series between Sentinels and F3VP. And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to game number 3 between Sentinels and F3VP. So far, we've seen F3VP run away with the first game, but Sentinels have brought it back. So momentum fully on board for Sentinels right now. We'll have to see if they can close it out.
Yeah, really, and I did not expect to see that comeback from Sentinels in that game too, but they played perfectly around the Veigar. They got these small little wins across the map, did not F3VP take whatever they wanted with the Nunu pick. We'll have to see if they can do it again, though. I mean, this Sejuani now in place of the Olaf that was game 1, game 2 for Sentinels jungler. Japanese import now going to have to see if he can get the ball rolling on the Sejuani.
Yeah. And again, this is very solid standard play so far. Very quiet, I would say. Again, no invades. Neither team really wants to be on the receiving end of another early death. So, staying safe, staying passive. And again, we see a somewhat offset jungle start. We see Nunu on the top side on that red buff. At the same time, Sejuani, again, getting some help out from her bot lane.
And I think the real difference we're seeing here with the team composition for F3VP is it's not all snowball reliance. No pun intended with the Nunu. Haha, snowball. It's not all snowball reliant. You don't have the Aatrox in the top lane. You don't have that Draven in the bot lane as well. Now Tristana with some good scaling to herself as well. So if she can manage to get ahead, she's going to have that damage throughout the entire game and doesn't have to worry about any stacks like Draven. Renekton, I will admit, yeah, he does want to snowball, but at the very least, he doesn't become like a useless champion if he doesn't snowball, right? Aatrox, like, it's literally sink or swim with him. While on the other hand, you can transition Renekton into a good frontliner. He does have that ultimate as well, which gives him some great HP to work with. That's a lot of damage.
Yeah. Young mid definitely not having a fun time. In that mid lane, something to point out, he did not go for an aggressive kill potential summoner after the flash. He did go the teleport, so no ignite, no threat of a massive, damage to round out a possible kill with ignite. So more going for the utility on this LeBlanc.
Yeah, and some trading into that top lane. Brown Mandarius now on the Aurelia and not against an Aatrox, so I think he's going to find himself a lot more comfortable. Nice damage.
Yeah, finally getting, I think that's the first electrocute proc that that young mid's had so far, which feels good. Once you do land it, it starts giving the threat potential out, and Japanese import showing a little bit of love to the top side. Gonna be going for that Rift Scuttle as well, so not too bad.
I mean, beautiful Defiant Dance coming out for the side of Brown Mandarius, able to soak up that damage from the Slice and Dice, and here we go.
Yeah, another good stun going down. 3-in-1 Warrior going pretty ham here. Has one more dash available. Brown Mandarius wants it, but in that jungle side, Japanese import is looking to get it. Does pick up the Rift Scuttle. And in that top side, 3-in-1 Warrior and Brown Man say, all right, we had our fun. Let's not burn summoners just yet.
Yeah. All right, quit playing around, guys. We're actually getting close to dying here.
Just give it a second. Come on. We've had first blood, I think, like twice up top or something.
Yeah, it's been action-packed up there. But, I mean, both people in the top lane not wanting to go way too far there. They don't want to feed in front of their teammates, so gonna take a step back, and overall that's a small win if you are Japanese import. You finally get a Skull Crab this game pre like 5 minutes or whatever, so that's gonna feel nice for you. This is Sejuani, like I said, I feel like she's in a great state right now. She is one of those few tank junglers that you don't completely sack the early game for. Like, she has a good amount of pressure to her. She can work out those ganks, especially if she has a melee laner to work with as well. Apply those stacks, get her a stun quicker, but I'll have to see. Hasn't had a huge presence yet. Attempted one in the top lane, but to no avail.
Yeah. And honestly, again, a slightly slower start. Even though we have seen aggression coming out from both of the junglers here, we're seeing the teams be a lot more respectful of the potential gank pathing and the potential ganks coming out. Bot lane definitely has played a lot safer for the side of Sentinels. We see Zico, and Keishuna really just hone in on farming and staying passive in that bottom side. Don't let Scrandor, get those hooks off, which is what you're supposed to do against the Blitzcrank.
Oof, absolutely. I mean, that is what they do best. They're just trying to scale into the game. They've been facing this Blitzcrank, so if anything, they're quite experienced in this matchup and just need to hold out. Young mid trying to do his damnness to get ahead in this lane, but Malzahar's just got some point and clicks. One skill shot to work with, but it's more of like a 50-50 coin toss. You put it in one or two locations and hope it sticks.
Now we see the farm coming out again. Brown Mandarius definitely not down as far as possible, but we see Japanese import land right on top of a pink ward. So definitely setting up a little bit of a tent in this top side, making sure 3-in-1 Warrior can't have the same impact that he's had in the rest of the games.
Yeah, I mean, on this Sejuani pick, he's still not finding ground, but at least level 6 he has a much more impactful ultimate than the Ragnarok, right? It's not just some guy with axes running at you. It's finally you can potentially land some CC to work with, and hopefully that could secure you some early objectives and stop FA Hunter from just taking whatever he pleases. Feels like a Mundo out of the jungle, but it's Nunu instead.
And going back to it now, this is around the time that we do see the first dragon being taken, and honestly, FA Hunter has had that under wraps usually. I believe he's taken all first dragons in this series so far. So dropping the ward, and Zico has for sure read that move as well, dropping early wards where he can, making sure to zone out possible dragon takes. And again, Sejuani sitting on this top side right now.
Yeah, here we go.
There it is. Vanguard's Edge has been popped. They are going very hard. Oh, goes the ultimate as well from 3-on-1 Warrior. The Brown Man Darius is taken extremely low. It looks like they don't want to keep fighting this. They're a little bit worried. Big job by 3-on-1 Warrior again to stave off a 1v2 situation.
Yeah, this is the problem. Renekton's almost like a stat check, you know? Once he pops that ultimate, it's like, can you kill me? If not, I will surely kill you. Gets into a 2v1 and still comes out ahead, so a great win overall. Wasn't the reaction of the dragon coming out for FA Hunter, but he does still have vision control of that side, so eventually you can go back if 3-in-1 Warrior can pull even more pressure up to that top side.
As we do get into the somewhat end of the early game here, as I would, well, not really end of early game, but we're starting to see a little bit more aggressive action coming out. Fire in this mid lane has kept even with Young Mid in the CS department. Bot lane, same thing as well, which has led to only about a 600 gold advantage, or 600, 800 gold advantage for the side of F3VP. So feeling pretty all right there.
Yeah, that advantage only really in the form of that jungle, right? Like that's really where the CS deficit is. Other than that, evened up across the map. And sure, we did see a lot of strength coming out of 3-in-1 Warrior, but has yet to pick up a kill yet.
Oh, another fight coming out here in that top side, but just a little bit of raw damage once again. Ultimates are not up for either of these players, so they are just fighting with the Conqueror stat itself. Just hoping to lay down some damage and get some nice peel going on, so.
No ultimates available for either top laner there, but you can expect if it was, would have been explosive. The Dominus, as well as the Vanguard's Edge, I believe. Just a lot of damage for both champions. So, oh, here we go.
We see a gank on the bottom side again. Snowball rolling all the way in, but they do get the hook in. But that is going to be first blood going over to the side of Scrandor. Gets a beautiful hook, and that's going to secure it. First blood to the bottom side. Meanwhile, on the top side, we do see 3-in-1 Warrior jumping all the way in. Ultimate is pop. Japanese import and Brown Man Darius are trying their best, but they might not pick it up. They do. Barely, though. Health bars are blinking. That's going to be a 1-for-1 across the board, but first blood over to F3VP.
Yeah, finally, that 2v1 going in favor of Sentinels, but at what cost? It looks like it's going to be the Cloud Drake, but here's the reaction coming out 5 Fire. It's a 4v1 at the moment, so I think he's going to realize probably going to have to back off here. That's going to be the Cloud Drake. Again, secured over for the side of F3VP, but overall, no gold lead to be heard of.
Yes, and we will be going to a short little transition here. We will be fixing something with the UA, so just give us a few moments. But again, overall, we're seeing these aggressive changes work extremely well, I would say, for both of these teams now. Both sides are really honing in on the fact that, you know, we need to put the pressure on. We need to start getting some of these objectives and really make it work for them.
Yeah, and here's the thing. While you are playing this 2v1 in the top side, I think at some point you sort of have to write off getting those early dragons. Like, it's so hard to control it if you are even against a Nunu, just because of the fact that he has fantastic control of the jungle. He's been having that priority in terms of the river vision as well, so he's probably going to find himself on top of that dragon, and then it's so hard to fight that smite fight. So rather than try and play around this dragon, they just end up going for these top plays, and at least you get a kill onto your jungler and assist for Brown Man Darius on that Irelia, and hopefully you can take that advantage and snowball it.
And hopefully it's a little bit better for people to see now. But again, I want to pull it around to the fact that we have slightly different win conditions for both sides, right? On the side of F3VP, you have that LeBlanc in the mid lane, you have that Renekton in the top side. Both of those are early to mid-game warriors. This is the issue with that, though, is you have decent scalers on the flip side. Again, K-Shuna on that Sivir once again. If you let the Sivir farm up towards about, I want to say, 3.5 items, they will start to crit. Those bouncing boomerangs will hurt. So now we're wondering, 3-1 Warrior again jumped on. And this is going to be so painful. 3-1 Warrior on the receiving end. They really don't want him in the game right now.
And now Nunu, FA Hunter, he wants one. Here comes LeBlanc as well.
Yep, here they come, and this is going to be a full collapse here. FA Hunter, though, almost going down, gets a little bit of a heal out. That's going to be a 1-for-2 trade so far. Young mid getting jumped on. He went back to his clone. He goes down. That is a nice pickup there. 3-for-1 overall. Top side of the map annihilated for F3VP. Such a strong play.
Yeah, and finally, all this jungle pressure applied from Japanese import into the top lane. It's coming to fruition. Now a 2-0-2 Irelia ahead of a Renekton. You can assume she's going to scale much better than the Renekton throughout the game. Bit of a response from 3-1 Warrior, just TPing over, trying to save his tower. It's going down very slowly.
Yep.
But still, I mean, you're seeing the top come through, 5 Fire. He's been coming through this entire series, and you've got a lot of great things working for you if you are Sentinels.
Yeah. And again, that big win on that top side has helped them out immensely. You're looking at Brown Mandarius for the first time having an extensive lead over 3-1 Warrior. And this, as we were talking about before, means, this is going to be painful for 5 Fire. He is getting jumped on. Pulls the ultimate out, though, and LeBlanc went back to her back to her distortion point. This means 5 Fire gets a free kill. Actually, Brown Man picked that one up, so okay, Shuna now is going to be the receiving end on the hunt has been popped. But again, I would say a slight misplay to Young Mid.
Yeah, and I don't want to sound cringy here, but you can actually feel a bit of desperation coming up F3VP. They try and pull something in the mid lane. Bot lane as well, you can see an attempt, but just nothing coming out because of some great reactions coming out from the side of Sentinels. Again, we're seeing Japanese import definitely come through this early game. No longer on the Olaf. This Tejuani seems to fit him like a glove, and I mean, if they can keep up this transition this into the mid game, they're going to scale much better, I would say.
Definitely is, and now we do have to wonder, where's FA Hunter going to go next? Because usually he would be able to have a strong advantage, have the strong laners, and have enough power to really focus these global objectives. This time around, he hasn't. He has popped the Rift Herald on that bottom side. Gonna try and help out Dog 2 once again.
Yeah, but that's going to be the military tower going down. Nice flash out.
Solid flash it was. They do collect 2 plates right there just before the tower plates expire. So they do get a little bit of gold. Actually, I think that's 3 tower plates that they just got. Very, very
yeah,
good.
It looked like it was. Yeah, that range is crazy for the gold, by the way. But I mean, either way, you're sort of picking up scraps at this point. You didn't get the first brick gold as well, and you're just trying to get as much as you can. Hang on in this game. Already a 3K deficit in Japanese import. He's looking for something.
Yeah, FA Hunter does have the flash available, but they say, okay, Sentinels, we just want to take that blue buff. Don't have to worry about too much.
Gotta watch out.
Yeah, a decent collapse coming down. They do want it. Blue buff does go over to FA Hunter. Gets it with the possible smite, I believe. No.
Looks like Young Mid, actually.
Yeah.
So, nice.
Young Mid
buff transfer complete.
Totally what we were going for. Exactly. But Dragon does get started up. This will be the first Dragon of the game over to Sentinels, as the Air Drake had been picked up by F3VP. But, again, Ocean Drake, not the best one to get after laning phase, it feels like.
Yeah, it's not bad. It's not very good either, but at the same time, I mean, this might come into play with the split push. There we go.
But we see another fight this time. Brown Man Warrior has to do it on his own, and he gets it. The Vanguard Dash has been landed. Ultimate pop by 3-1 Warrior, but this could be a big death right there.
Wow.
Brown Man picks it up. Auto attacks galore. Getting that extra bonus attack damage from the Conqueror, able to seal the deal there. And gets that solo kill now, 4-0-2. Again, 3-1 Warrior not feeling so hot.
Yeah, this is not going to sit well at F3VP. I mean, losing the split push already. It's only 15 minutes in, and it gets better and better for the Irelia at this point. you've got to start making plays across the map because this Renekton is not going to be faring well in the split push. You've already got the top lane tower going down. Here we go into the bot lane.
Ooh, very fast snowball coming out. Immediate snowball out, but they do collect the tower, so a little bit late as the fact that top lane is also going down, so matching one tower to one means that Sentinels do collect a 2-for-1 tower advantage.
Yeah, F3VP just trying to keep up the pace at the moment. Don't want to fall too far behind, and they're trying to find any gold whenever they can find it, but at the same time, like we said, the scaling, it's an issue, and next drag looks like it's going to be Infernal, so this might just pivot the game in one direction or another.
It really could. Zico, though, has no flashes. Could be really damaging if he actually gets hooked back in. Has to dodge it. No, he gets pulled. Zico right in the middle. That means the rocket jump right into it. That's going to secure a kill. Dog 2 picks up his first of the game. New snowball going all the way in again. Shuna dodges it. Very, very fancy right there. And that's going to be a 1-for-0. Unfortunate pathing by Zico. Not able to get away.
Yep, you hate to see it happen, but it's not the worst thing that could happen to you if you are Sentinels. They are still maintaining a decent amount of pressure. Here comes another snowball, though.
Yeah, and Japanese import really doesn't want to get caught out, but it's only finding a tank, so he's not too worried about it. Just walks back. FA Hunter takes the boomerang, first proc on his own. But this is 5 members on that side. All for this Infernal Drake that's not up for about another minute and a half.
Yeah, a little too early, guys. If anything, I would have loved to see a bit more split pushing coming out of Brown Man Darius. He knows that now, at this state of the game, you need to call 2 people over to that top lane if you are F3VP, if you want to stop this top lane push from happening. And as we get closer and closer to that Infernal Drake, just seeing more presence coming out from the side of Sentinels.
Oh, this could actually be bad because the red buff is on Brown Man, and he goes in with the Vanguard's Edge. Absolute Zero is channeled, but not a maximum kill there. Brown Man Darius jumps right back, but he is on the receiving end of a 5-man rotation. 4-man, I should say. That's going to be a shutdown going over to Young mid. Good pickup there, right, for F3VP.
Yeah, and a bit of a bizarre play coming out of Sentinels. I mean, making the pick onto a Renekton Nunu. It's not necessarily what I would suggest. They get collapsed on quite quickly because everyone was just coming back from the reset. So, I mean, you are giving up gold slowly and not quite what you want to secure the lead with. But in the end, really think it's going to come down to this Infernal Drake coming up, and we'll have to see how the Vision War pans out for themselves. Zico, just taking the little pink word.
Yep, just running away, and Scrandor says, I don't want to fight, I just want to ward, please. Walks away from the Malzahar, and again, looking down the rows, we see the CS differentials coming out in that mid lane. 20 CS difference for 5-fire in that mid lane, plus the towers, expanding the gold lead to one of the few largest of the game so far, about 1.3k.
Yeah, just sheerly into that laning phase, and as we approach this dragon, I would really like to see some active play, like coming out from the side of Sentinels, rather. Like, as long as they just hang around in this river, as long as they look for picks with that Malzahar ult or the Sejuani ult, I think they could really find themselves a great team fight to work with. Just inching ever so close to this Infernal. I've been hyping it up for like 2 minutes already. Come on, guys.
Yeah, but again, this also shows that, you know, the early game, we had a spout of just constant fighting. 6-4 so far on the map right there. And so now they're setting up. They want to make sure that they are all set for this Infernal Drake. They don't want to lose any summoners. As you can see, all summoners are available, I believe, except for the flashes on the top sides, as well as Japanese import. And ooh, big chunk of damage coming out for Shuna. Double pink ward as well.
That actually could have been dangerous. Here comes the snowball, and here we go.
Yep, big fight, possibly breaking out. Hook goes a little bit wide. FA Hunter wants to hold it off. Young mid in the back line gets a boomerang to the face. So again, F3VP looking for any sign of weakness coming out of Sentinels right now. They don't want to give this over. Oh, big whiff on the Glacial Prison, but that's still collecting a kill. 5-fire picks that one up on FA Hunter. That's going to be the stun down. Zico picks that one up. Vanguard's Edge does miss. But no, Dog 2 gets flayed out of the rocket jump. Hook goes a little bit wide, but that does burn the flash of Dog 2. And that's a huge win coming out for the side of Sentinels as they collect their bounty of the Infernal Drake, as well as 2 kills.
And there you go. It was all too easy for the side of the Sentinels. They make sure they're grouped as 5, and it was a scattered approach coming out for the side of F3VP. That's exactly what you want. You make a pick, admittedly not with the Glacial Prison, but with the Nether Grasp. As long as you can CC one person, get the pick, make the fight a 4v5, they secure themselves the Infernal. And now, with a Dragon advantage for the first time this series as well, this spells great things for Sentinels.
Yeah, that's actually very, very true. For the first time, Sentinels are on the advantage when it comes to proactive plays. They're not the ones trying to contest for every dragon. They're not fighting all the way back. They're the ones forcing F3VP to come to them, and I think that shows a huge change in pace for this series.
Yeah, absolutely. And like we said, the scaling coming out of Sentinels, nothing to scoff at. I mean, the Sivir, you have a great front line in the form of the Sejuani as well. You have the Thresh that can go ahead and poke, as well as the Malzahar, who CC is his middle name and been playing overall well. 5 Fire. He's been on a rampage this entire series. I would say the gleaming light for the side of Sentinels, and now it might finally pay off. Ooh, the split push is so tough.
Yeah, it is, but we're seeing Brown Man be able to trade it out, really hold it down. Unless 3-1 Warrior is able to pick up a couple kills here soon, he will never be able to challenge Brown Man in this split push duel. It will always have to be another one. We see Dog 2 actually picking up that Ruined Hurricane along with the Infinity Edge, so feeling okay with his itemization so far.
And, I mean, now just a lot of control exerted onto this Baron. I mean, I think both teams know that they're not actually going to go for the Baron, but the fact that you have to keep making the side of F3VP face check over and over again. Like we said, lots of crucial CC to work with. You got the Nether Grasp as well as that Glacial Prison to work with. Hopefully this time it doesn't go wide and they can get a quick pick off of that. And I don't think Young Mid can keep playing how he played that Dragon fight. Like, if you extend way too close trying to get distortion damage onto someone, like, you could easily get Nether Grasp by Malzahar, and that could be the end of you. Like, you're a cooked goose after that.
But we'll have to definitely see if that's going to happen here. Again, Young Mid hoping to have a little bit more impact. He is 2-1-0. Did have to get the tax of the QSS. So even if he does get Nether Grass, he won't have to worry too much. 3-1 Warrior on that bottom side has to dash away immediately over to the Dragon Pit. That's going to be him losing out. Oh, flash forward onto the Tristana. Stepped up a little bit too close. That's going to be a kill. 1-for-1 so far. Young Mid picked that one up. The Absolute Zero is channeled, but that's going to be a sacrificial kill. Oh, good hook. Burns the QSS out of Young Mid. He is running 3-1 Warrior. Can't help either. So that's a quick 2-1 for Sentinels right there. That's also possibly going to be a Baron as we see it completely swept out and possibly started up.
Yeah, looks like they're walking towards it. They are going to be starting it up, and off of a great fight as well. You have the priority because you were grouped first. You go ahead and engage. It was a 1-for-1, but in the end, you take the crucial member, Dog 2, and now the approach coming out. You can see the TP from Young Mid. He's on the top side. The bot side, you've got 3-1 Warrior, and here comes the collapse.
Yeah, they are looking for it right now. They do have vision. This is very obvious. Oh, they pull over Japanese import. That is exactly what they want right there, and almost gets him bursted out, but no. Good boomerangs coming out for Kashuna right there, and Brownman is there to help clean up. That is going to be Baron over to Sentinels, and all of a sudden they are firmly in the driver's seat.
What a play coming out. It was the face tank from Japanese import. That sets up the fight for themselves. They get a pick as well as the Baron, and we've seen it. When Baron is in the hands of Sentinels, they know how to take the win. Last time it was like 2 minutes after they got the Baron, they literally just took the Nexus, and let's see if it's this fast this time around. But either way, you've got everything working for you if you are Sentinels. And nice point out, by the way, for the QSS. That is how Young Mid has been able to play aggressively, but in the end cannot get enough damage down, cannot find damage onto crucial targets like Kashuna, like 5 Fire, and it's just so difficult to play. Sivir, you got the spell shield that could potentially negate like literally 50% of LeBlanc's damage. For 5 Fire, you've got the Malzahar passive shield to work with as well, and I don't know who's going to carry on the side of Sentinels. That's a lot of damage, and Scrandor, there's the hook.
Yeah, but straight into a Glacial Prison as well. A hook lands as well. FA Hunter in the back line, but they have already collected 1-for-0. Sentinels looking to hunt down more of F3VP. But Absolute Zero does not do enough. And that's going to be a 2-for-0 as Sentinels look to break the base.
Yeah, and what a fabulous fight overall. I mean, You've just got nothing working for you if you are F3VP. They're going to lose the inhibitor. They might just even push for more. No.
Oh.
Whoa, man, Zico, he's been on fire with these plays, but he's not paying off this time. But you could see him, like, they had the Nexus in their eyes. They wanted to go for it.
Yeah, but they wisely pull off. They say, okay, we got enough. We broke the base. We still have to spend a lot of this gold. Let's try and collect this next dragon. Make sure, excuse me, that we have enough speed to get around the map and, you know, really not let F3VP have any window back into this game.
Yeah, and I want to talk about the game state overall. Like I said, like, who's going to carry from the side of F3VP? Young mid, he's just in a huge disadvantage in terms of what he's working against. Like I said, the backliners have a lot of innate durability to themselves against a LeBlanc champion. Dog 2, I don't think he's been set up necessarily to carry, has also paid the QSS tax as well, just due to the fact that you ran that last fight in the mid lane. Literally just flash Nethergrass by Malzahar. So he learned his lesson, but I mean, that's 1,300 gold that you're not using to build damage. You've got Renekton that's getting hard outscaled. You compare the 5-1-5 Brown Man Darius to the 3-1 Warrior at currently 0-4. Here we go.
Oh man, they said hello, goodbye, young mid. Actually ate the Glacial Prism straight in the face. Had to burn the QSS very quickly. Oh no, Brown Man Darius is actually under the tower. Tries to dash forward. Doesn't get it, so it's a 1-for-1 trade so far. 3-1 Warrior on the run now. Zico already burned the box. So that is going to be a 1-for-1 trade. Everyone moving up to this top side though. They have double cannon minion to be able to push this down. They are feeling confident that they can break the base again on this top side. Knock down a second inhibitor.
Yeah, already knocking on this top inhibitor tower, and there's a snowball.
Yep, there is a snowball, and that's the ultimate pop by 3-1 Warrior, but I don't think that's going to be enough. He does dive in, cashes a stun on the 5-fire. This might be the fight that they want. F3VP going ham, gets the kill onto the ADC. That is it. Tristana going hard. Dog 2 wants the next one, picks up a triple kill, and all of a sudden we have a fight on our hands, ladies and gentlemen. Dog 2 picking up multiple shutdowns there, and he is feeling good.
All props to Dog 2 shutting me up personally and saying, nah, yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and carry this fight if I get a good engage. And that was a fantastic engage coming out. 3-1 Warrior actually manages to land a stun onto 5-fire. That means he gets the explosive charge to the face, and he's just snowballed the fight from there. You have no other tools to really stop the Tristana from pushing through the fight. You saw she out-damaged Kashuna on the Sivir as well, and once you're finished with the AD carry, the mid laner just got those tanks to burst down, and like we saw before, Brown Man Darius, he got taken out earlier and was not available for that team fight. So overall, F3VP, they see an opportunity. They go ahead and jump on it, get themselves a nice, good lead to work with. Well, not lead, but, you know, some nice gold in their pocket. Now, just about 4.5 gold separating the two teams in favor of Sentinels.
Yeah, about 4,500 gold. You are correct. I also just want to point out with the kills right there, Dog 2 went back. He only had an Infinity Edge, Runaan's, and QSS and boots. He went straight back, bought a rapid fire cannon straight out, plus a Last Whisper. That is a massive buy for him.
Yeah, that's huge. And I think now that he's been able to secure those kills, I think it was like, let me check right now. It was either a double or a triple that fight.
He got a triple there, got a couple shutdowns as well.
Yeah.
So really going ham.
His extra gold that he got from that fight was actually 700, just due to bounties. Put that on top of the extra 900 that you get from 3 kills, and that's a lot of gold in your pocket. And now this game might just be blown wide open. You finally have a backline carry for Dog 2, so that front to back team fight, that we've seen played out for Sentinels might just not work for them if 5-fire or Kashuna gets caught out like last fight.
We'll definitely have to see, and yes, you are correct. He didn't have enough to outright buy, but again, completing basically an item fully after a fight is huge. You know, he got the rapid fire cannon. His damage is going to be huge as well. And there it goes. Good pull in, but immediate hook back. That's going to be a huge fight breaking out. Big jump in as well, and a big Vanguard's Edge. It means the fight has erupted for Sentinels. In goes a double kill, and out goes the fight. Nethergrass lands onto 3-1 Warrior, not even able to pop ult. And that's going to be the ADC as well. And Young Mid is the next one to possibly go down. He is running for his life. That is a 4-0 in favor of Sentinels. And just as quickly as F3VP showed some signs of life, immediately Sentinels bring it back.
Yeah, and it was a trade of flashes, but in the end, you get Scrandor under your tower, and that's exactly what you want. A beautiful Vanguard's Edge as well. That just blows open that team fight in favor of Sentinels, and now it's just Young Mid trying to buy time, but it's not going to be enough, and the push is coming out from Sentinels. They're going to take it here.
Yeah, Death Timers are coming to a close now. Scrandor is up. FA Hunter soon to be. Young Mid is available as well, but I don't think that's going to be enough. Young Mid just gets bursted out by Kashuna, and that's going to be it. Sentinels take it in a hard-fought 2-1 series.
Absolutely. The mini reverse sweep coming out for Sentinels when it looks so bad game 1, too. It's not bad. It looked rough, all right? Not saying these teams are bad or anything. Please don't blame me. It looks so tough. That game 1, right? They got absolutely decimated. I think that was a pre-30-minute game. That game
just after 30 minutes.
Okay. Either way, they got like blown out of the water. It looked like they lost that early game. They just could not get their footing in that game. But they came back game 2 off of that Veigar pick. You think about the Olaf and Sivir, they ran it back as well, and they ended up winning that fight. Here in this game 3, it was just them finding the confidence, able to play it out, go blow for blow with F3VP, and crucially, they won out on the top side. Their pick and ban was fabulous in terms of Young Mid had no openings to play for once you finally got towards that mid game. Like, what can a LeBlanc do really against a Malzahar, against a Sivir when it's even or behind? You know, it's so hard to work with. Finally, we saw Dog 2. He did end up popping off, but one small slip up in terms of that team fight, and that was just a game over for F3VP. Well played from Sentinels.
Yeah, we do have to decide. You know, I do want to ask you, who would you consider your MVP out of this entire series?
I don't really think there's anyone except Fire to give it to, in my opinion. Like, obviously, this last game especially was like every member of the team. You think about Nutty Flays from Zico. You think about great step-up performance from Japanese import on the Sejuani as well. But in my eyes, Fire has been putting on a great performance this entire series. Like, game 1, most damage in the game. Game 2 was really a huge asset to have. He was pulling several members onto that mid lane, and finally this game 3 he could sort of sit back, relax, do a couple flash nether grass, but in the end, you know, his team finally had his back. They came out the gate swinging, and I gotta give it to Fire. He's just so consistent.
All right, well, there you have it. Fire taking our MVP for the series tonight, and I want to say thank you so much to everyone tuning in today. Thank you so much for listening to us, and we enjoyed bringing the Sentinels versus F3VP series to you tonight. So again, congratulations to Sentinels, and we will see you guys next week. Thank you so much for tuning in.